Meeting of the Milton Conservation Commission. The commission is appointed by the Board of Selectmen in the town of Milton, and our duties and responsibilities are to enforce the Wetlands Protection Act and the regulations of the town of Milton bylaw. As a matter of formality, we always introduce ourselves.
Judith Darrell Kemp.
My name is John Kiernan.
Michael Blute.
Arthur Doyle.
Craig McNaught.
Kathy Bowen.
First on the agenda is Notice of Intent, Neponset River Stormwater Improvement. That's DOT. DOT here?
Yes.
All right, sir. We have a recorder here, and I'd ask you to introduce yourself and tell us what the improvement process that you are proposing is all about.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Just gonna. What's it? Why don't you get that?
They send me a copy, but I need to read it.
Green slips for,
Notify the butters.
they're exempt, DOT is exempt.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry.
That's all right,
Sorry.
that's all right.
And do you
I'll
have
resend
the
it.
AECom check, original? Check? I could
I
get,
don't.
do you have it here?
No.
We definitely need that back.
Oh, get it.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right.
Now, could you introduce yourself first? And then secondly, if you're going to stand at the board, can you use that mic? You can actually detach that and take it with you,
Okay.
because you're also being recorded by the Milton Access TV.
Hold a couple things here, so.
Sure.
Thanks. Thanks. Yep, my name is Tom Touche. I'm a wetland scientist with AECom in Wakefield, Massachusetts. And we're here tonight on behalf of Mass DOT. And this particular project is part of the Mass DOT Impaired Stormwaters Project, stormwater program, which is a program to basically retrofit existing stormwater systems located throughout the state, as well as install new stormwater BMPs for impaired waters that have been identified. So I'll.
Move this down while I do. You are.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So this particular project is composed of 5 different BMP locations. Site A, which is actually located in the city of Boston on the other side of the Neponset River. And then 3 sites in Milton, so site C, E, and D. Out of the 3 sites located in Milton, only one of them is actually located within an area subject to jurisdiction under the Wetlands Protection Act, which is Site C. So that's the subject of the notice of intent that we had submitted. So Site C is located within the 100-foot buffer zone to a BVW that was flagged and shown here on the map as W6. And I'm also here with our civil engineer, Yan Zhang, and he's just going to explain a little bit about the specific design for Site C. So I'll just flip that map. Yeah, sure.
Okay, just for the record, would you introduce yourself as well?
Sure. My name is Yan Zhang. I'm the civil engineer and design engineer for this particular site. I'm from AECom. I just want to give you a little bit the overview. I'll go back to this just a little bit. As Tom pointed out, Site C is within the buffer zone of the environmental impact areas. And
Let's give a little idea where it is better. So it's next to the expressway, is that it, as you, on
this
93?
This is I-93, and that's the northbound. And this is the infield area of I-93. I think this is about the Granite Avenue, so this
Yes.
is exit 11A area.
Okay.
So you can see, I think this is the on-ramp from Granite Avenue to the northbound.
Okay.
I-93, I think this is the off-ramp
Right.
from I-93 towards Granite Avenue.
Okay.
So showing here, basically, this section of the Neponset River is considered impaired, and the stormwater runoff from approximately 2.1 acres of the pavement of I-93 right now discharges directly into Neponset River, causing the impairment. So this is a retrofit project. Basically, DOT is trying to retrofit a BMP within the areas as much as they can to treat the first flush of stormwater That's improved the water quality. So going to the design, this.
Hey,
Go
can you
ahead.
go back for just a minute? About a month ago, we issued an emergency certification for a breakout, and it was DOT property. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tom?
I don't think so.
I think it's on, it may be, it's near D and E. Kathy, do you know where it
Yeah.
is? Is it across the street?
From the, what's that called there?
I think there's like.
The
D,
Heritage
isn't-
Hall?
Heritage Hall.
Yeah, I
On the
think,
golf course side.
oh, on the golf course.
No, I don't think it's the golf course. It's opposite the golf course.
With the
Isn't it where they store the salt?
Yeah, where they store
So
the
it's
salt.
further down. You can't see it on the map.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, it
This
may
is the
be.
DOT depot, just to give you a little orientation right here.
And that's where I believe that took place. There was some kind of a breakout, and there was an emergency response. I think Clean Harbors came in to take care of it. So obviously, this is not part of that
No,
problem.
this is not part of it.
It's close to it, though. So
Really?
can you just do a little bit of research and get back to Kathy and tell us if there's any connection here? Because I don't know if it was the salt or the whatever chemicals they used for the highway,
Really.
but there was some concern, and Clean Harbors came in, and probably 6 weeks ago,
That was a car accident.
was it a car accident
Yeah,
and a
the
spill of?
telephone poles down, remember?
Oh, it was the PCBs from the transformer.
Right.
Oh, okay, all right,
Okay.
I got it, thank you.
You got it? Okay,
Right.
good. So I think the orange line here shows kind of the extent of the what we call the work limit. But basically, this proposed BMP will involve a infiltration basin. What we do is that we're gonna, as I mentioned, there's a lot of pavement, stormwater pavement, runoff from the pavement kind of currently goes this way into Neponset River, and the design will have part of the water, stormwater runoff, namely here is the water quality portion, the first flush or the dirtiest portion of the runoff kind of being diverted into this area, and then it's going to be undergone some treatment here through infiltration, and the mechanism is based on research, will remove about 85% of the common pollutants in that first flush, and then so that's basically the basin area. The design also includes some maintenance. This is a Granite Avenue, so there's a chain link fence right here. So this little gravel road will be kind of configured so that the maintenance vehicles will be able to come in and periodically clean up the area, the basin. That's basically, to a nutshell, for our design right here. So if you have any questions, let me know.
After the 85% removal in the first flush, is there a secondary cleansing mechanism as well, or does it discharge at 15%?
We only divert the water quality volume over to this basin for treatment. The regular water, anything above that, will be continuing flowing through the original system, discharged.
How does that work?
It's a diversion pipe, so we have a manhole,
Yep.
and we set our diversion pipe at a lower invert, and then we use an orifice plate to restrict the flow. Basically, the first flush will come down and then go in a way,
Yep.
but when motor comes over, it's gonna continue to go its original way.
But it will continue to flow through the orifice.
Part of it, yeah, we did run our model here to make sure that the water, whatever coming over here will be fully restrained within the basin. It's not gonna go over bank. We have the model printout in the NOI document, stormwater report.
And what percentage of the water, the discharged water, do you anticipate you can capture in the basin? I mean, this is an improvement, so it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering how
the
much are you
design-
capturing?
Right now, for this watershed, I think the definition is 0.5 inch of the surface area. That's how the volume is calculated. And by our design, I think we had it in our report, about 93% of the first flush will be diverted over for treatment. So
So 95% of the total tributary area.
95% of the first flush of the
First flush
0.5
of that
inch. Yeah,
tributary.
exactly.
And that's all the runoff from the 93?
No, that's just the first flush, which is the water quality volume, or that's typically the dirtiest amount of water, stormwater runoff, that will be diverted over for treatment.
But where is the stormwater coming from?
from precipitation running onto the pavements.
That's what I just asked.
I'm sorry.
Is it coming runoff from
Oh,
the-
geographically, you're talking about the contributing drainage area?
Yeah.
Okay. It's about 2.13 or so acre of pavement on 93. I think it's kind of approximately from, maybe wrong, maybe from here all the way to here. We have a figure, I can refer you to figure 1 of the stormwater report, which has the delineation polygon on it. So it's I think it's approximately right here to approximately right here.
What does DOT use for snow melt? What chemicals do they use for snow melt?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure in that area.
But is there any, that's not something that's getting screened out in the basin, or is it?
It must be.
Why?
Not sure.
But it
It
would
isn't,
be
because this is
included.
it's first flush. This is only dealing with 85% of the first flush. So that gets applied and that melts over time, and only a small portion of whatever that is ends up going through the orifice and coming down into this system.
It's for all seasons, not only the winter season dealing with the snow or salts that apply, but also for.
But basically, the
But how is
salt
it-
is going into the deposit.
But how is it treated in the basin, once it gets
Through
there?
infiltration. We tested the soil to make sure it's actually infiltrating. And then we calculate the recharge time to make sure it has enough time to achieve that, infiltration.
So it's leaching into the actual ground.
It's leaching, yes, downward, yes.
But there are plantings as well, right?
There will be-
There are plantings that are being installed as well to
Yes.
help filter.
Correct.
So it's similar to what, with the playing fields over by
Yeah,
um,
like a rain garden.
Houghton's Pond.
Houghton's Pond,
Yeah.
the whole wash off from that.
Right.
So in this system, basically, we're slowing down this 85% slow, we're running it through a pipe, and we're gonna dump it in the retention, slow it down, let that go, and then everything else continues going on.
I'm sorry, say it again.
The system here, we're grabbing that 85%
Right.
based on the size of the.
Based on the infiltration mechanism to remove the pollutants.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously you have to maintain it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Questions?
How deep will the pollutants go within the existing soil?
Ideally, it should be.
I mean, you're gonna create this basin.
Yes.
And you're gonna put polluted water in it.
Yeah.
And by your description it's gonna leach into the ground.
Right, but it's going to be
How are
basic.
we controlling forever the amount of pollutants that leach further into the ground?
They're
Are we
basic.
just concentrating the pollutants in that one basin area? Are we gonna do, is there a periodic schedule that after 5 years, we're gonna excavate the basin and then put in fresh material?
Yes, I think there's a maintenance schedule for inspection and periodic removal of, overgrown weeds in that basin area and check the soil. If the soil is overly clogged, that would certainly affect the performance of the infiltration.
Hey, Tex.
Around here someplace.
It's underneath your folder. The folder.
Visiting
Stuck in
consultant
Folsom
from
Prison.
Arkansas.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I'll go back to Folsom Prison.
Yeah, there's a maintenance schedule there. That's why I think you need to go there and then clean up the weeds, overgrown, and you need to check the soil to make sure it's not overly, clogged. If it's overly
a
clogged, you need to remove the material, replace the material. You need to do those type of things.
Okay.
That's a different question. That's a different answer. Because if the chemical pollutants go down and seep into the earth,
Yep.
you're talking about clogging the system, the filtering system. He's talking about what happens to you're now concentrating all of the pollutants and contaminants in an area that's.
All the de-icing chemicals
Right.
are now gonna be concentrated in this one pond.
And where is the actual basin?
It's gonna be right here. So this is right here.
So where did this wetlands That's what
The
I'm having a
wetlands
hard
is
time seeing.
right here.
Yeah, it's like a Phragmites wetland, this is W6, right in this area here.
The green line?
Yep. Yeah, so the green line represents the upgradient boundary between the wetland itself and the BMP area.
So how can we monitor the amount of pollutants that are 5 feet down in the soil?
Ideally, the pollutants are gonna be absorbed by, onto the surfaces of the media underneath. I mean, it's basically, they're not gonna go in and pollute in the groundwater. I mean, the theory is that they are absorbed to the infiltrating media and through absorption, they should be attached to those media particles.
Well, what's the media that's absorbed?
It's say sand or some infiltrating media. They're supposed to, absorb those chemicals, those pollutants. Think about it. I mean, if you don't treat it this way, the pollutants from the runoff, they're gonna go to the river, go to the receiving water there without any treatment. Right now, they're just basically those fine chemicals. They're gonna be absorbed onto this material.
I think we understand that, but is this a system that's been in place for a long time in other locations, this idea of having the basin to absorb? Or is this something new that's being tried out?
No, this is a technology that is, I think it's widely used for water quality treatment. And obviously, for DOT, this is a retrofitting project. That's why, I mean, we're doing as much as we can, because typically, when we say retrofitting projects, they are, you're restricted by the settings of the
Sure.
roadways, you're
Sure.
restricted by the availability of land, but if you're talking about a new project, typically we're required to provide these type of water quality treatment to the maximum extent you need to. So, go ahead.
In terms of the plantings to help break down the contaminants, can you talk for a minute about, because I think that's what Craig is asking, is
Right.
are the contaminants gonna contaminate the soil and therefore they're gonna be there and inert, and basically they're just gonna build up over time? It was my understanding that the use of plantings in that kind of a situation, they effectively they absorb the contaminants and they help break that whole system down, so that over time, the plants effectively destroy the contaminants and filter the
Okay.
system. Can you talk, is that correct? And can you?
I think I misunderstood you a little bit when I answered yes to your question about the plantings, because
Yes.
I thought the plantings were meaning some kind of landscape planting. So really, in this case, I think the material that we tested, I think we're not going to put any planting in there. When you say planting, you're talking about some other BMPs, such as like a bioretention
Yes, exactly.
treatment. No, this is not one of those. This is entirely through infiltration, and the pollutants in the stormwater runoff will be absorbed onto those media, and then in some cases, okay, some BMPs, like infiltrating BMPs, if you find out that the soil are not suitable for this type of pollutant removal, you may introduce, you see people introduce additional material, like mulches and something like that to help. Same thing, through absorption or anything, some kind of a chemical reaction sometimes to help remove those chemicals. But this one, we tested the soil. We think the soil would be pretty functional to remove those pollutants. We also tested the groundwater table. They're low enough so that the pollutants will be fully removed before any discharge reaching the groundwater.
When you say removed, do you mean captured and not modified in any way, or do you mean destroyed?
They are not destroyed. I think they're captured onto the media.
Yep.
Over time, there may be some biodegradation happening.
Yep.
Over time, I mean, I'm sure they'll, yes.
Okay, so back to Craig's original question, if they're not being destroyed, and it sounds like the maintenance plan that you proposed is about filtration, not about removal of the contaminants. The contaminants are gonna build up over time until they're very saturated. What is the plan for removal of those contaminants? And if there isn't one, we'd like to see that as added to the maintenance plan. that the soil is evaluated based on the level of contaminants that are there to verify that they're not migrating down to the the water table that you mentioned was low. But we want to show that we're not continuing to saturate this to the point where it becomes an issue. And it doesn't sound like that's currently part of the plan.
I think the maintenance plan that we proposed at the end of the stormwater report
Yes.
is a standard practice for this type of BMPs.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah, we didn't just make them up to go there every 6 months.
Yes.
You would find that these are very standard practice to make sure these type of BMPs will function in quite long period of time. But obviously, if you have the resources to have more like monitoring or additional, you go additional yards, I mean, that's certainly, plausible as well.
Is that included in the
That
plan?
is included, yeah, the maintenance plans included there. Those are recommended maintenance plans.
Not just filtration, but removal of contaminated material.
Yeah.
As,
Is there a page you can point us to, or?
yeah, let's see if you go to the appendix, so it'd be attachment,
Appendix A of the stormwater plan
yeah, so it's right after the stormwater report checklist.
is the stormwater report.
Yep, then you get into the report, and then right after the report is the O and M attachment A.
Yeah.
Yep, so I think the plan calls for annual inspection of the sediment forebay and the basin for accumulated sediment, and then remove sediment when greater than 1 foot or obstructing the outlet pipe.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Let's see, vegetative health and soil erosion.
There are action plans for, right here.
Let's see.
It's in here. Have you guys located the, okay, there are action plans for the first 6 months after the basin's built.
Yep.
And then there's a semi-annual activities to monitor the health of the vegetation and then also monitor for the erosion. And if necessary, you need to reseed and stabilize the basin. And then there are also annual inspections, and we call to remove the sediments when like greater than 1 foot, are observed or obstructing the outlet pipe type of thing.
This proposed maintenance plan appears to only deal with erosion and accumulated sediment, does not appear to do any kind of testing for the contamination in the soil, which you've said yourself isn't being destroyed or broken down for the most part.
I believe there are some chemical, biological, degradation or reactions underneath there. That's why I think this type of maintenance plans are commonly proposed. I can do additional research to find out, how chemically or biologically these bad stuff are going to continuously breaking down or anything like that.
That would be great.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
we can do some research, but they are obviously not made up just in the state of Massachusetts. Those are pretty common practices.
No,
to
that's fine.
maintain
We're
them.
just trying, it's going back to
Sure.
Craig's point, is we've said that the contaminants are going in there, we've not shown that they're being broken down. Would introducing plants effectively produce that? I mean, could you actively add plants to this that will make it an active system?
Right now the design does call for a herbaceous seed mix in there.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the rooting depth on that won't be quite as deep as other things, like shrubs or trees. But at least in that, top layer of soil, there'll be a root mat from all that vegetation, that would help at least with some of that.
Is it any kind of plant, or is it a specific type of
Yeah,
plant that
it's
does the
actually-
absorption and the breaking the chemicals down?
What's proposed is like a whole mix of plants, and it's more
I saw that.
so for like, soil stabilization and,
Well, I'm just asking, I saw the planting, but I don't know enough about it to be able to say whether or not those plants are effective in breaking down the chemicals, and that's what I'm asking. Is it any kind of plant that's effective, or is it a specific type of plant that's effective in breaking down the chemicals?
I think I can only say this. I think the main mechanism to remove pollutant here is through infiltration.
Yep.
And secondly, I think all plants
Yep.
in there will undergo some kind of biological uptake,
Yep.
and they're gonna absorb some nutrients and stuff like that. So they all function to a certain degree like that. This is not This is not one of the BMPs that uses the, say, bow filtering mechanism. This is not one of those, or
Okay.
constructed wetlands. So we do introduce those seed mixes, plantings in this area, grass, those things. I'm sure they contribute removal, but that's not the major mechanism. The major mechanism here is through infiltration.
Okay.
That seed mix, I think, would just be to stabilize the soil more
Correct,
than anything
exactly,
else.
correct.
Not- Yeah.
Well,
it's
that's a
not going to absorb
Phragmites
much.
area. Your chances
Yeah.
of getting a seed mix to take over the Phragmites is somewhere around 0. That's
Yeah.
pretty heavily.
Maybe in the long term.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that we haven't even talked about is that you do have, is it flagged right now? I know you've got a wetland area there. Have you flagged it so we can see it?
We did.
Yeah, that was flagged.
I think the line, these lines are on the plan, they're showing those wetland flags.
Just so that you know our format, we always look at flags before we certify them. And I think we should do that. You know, the Department of Transportation is exempt from the town bylaw, but not from the Wetlands Protection Act. So I think we should take a visit and take a look. We usually do that on Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock. A lot of snow out there now.
Yes.
Am I correct that the basin is, what's the distance between the basin and the wetland line?
It should be away, so this is a scale, like that's 60 feet, so I would imagine that's a
50
outside
feet?
50 feet buffer. That's, we,
Okay.
What's the construction timeline? I mean, we're not, I'm assuming, given
The
it's the
snow.
middle of winter and the snow, you're not in the middle of construction, you're trying to queue this up for the spring? So what is this is a good idea, okay, so we see this as I see this as an improvement. In terms of the timeline for construction and making sure we're not causing any problems for it proceeding, what is your timeline?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know our DOT contact person was supposed to be here tonight, but obviously the office is closed because of the snow. But I can double check with her and see what they're planning on that.
Okay.
they've been pushing for the schedule.
I know they're definitely
Yeah,
pushing us
they're
to
pushing
try
us to
to.
get it
Okay, yeah.
done, so.
I actually have one other question. Are you jumping, not related to this, but some information that was in the report? In the report, it talks about the sediment of the Neponset River is currently impaired with I can't even pronounce it, enterococus,
Enterococcus.
fecal coliform, dissolved oxygen, and PCBs. Can you, I mean, that understanding that that's the river that we're dumping into, but if the river is contaminated with all of these things, and most of them I don't know what are, is there a system or actively to kind of trace this back and figure out where this, I mean, fecal matter, that to me tells me that there's a septic system that's draining into the river. So can't you chase that back and find out why? I mean,
Yeah, I think the idea behind the Impaired Waters program is to try to identify, which of those particular contaminants might be attributable to the roadway.
yeah, but it's limited to the roadway in this discussion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's basically under Mass DOT's purview, to basically try to help an impaired situation.
Okay.
So the list that we have in there is, all the impairments that have been identified, through previous field testing, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Beyond
so
the scope.
A lot of it's not
Yeah,
as a result of the roadway, but they're basically trying to, help that wherever possible.
thank you.
You people do know where you're doing this work in regard to the overall site, what's underground?
Yep.
You do realize there's a huge,
There's a very large pipe.
yes,
Yep.
we've been through a fracture of that pipe before. Right, John?
Yes.
That's in.
Losing about 1 million gallons of
You're
it.
talking about the utility?
Yeah, the MWRA.
MDRA.
line. That's a
MWRA
deep-
line is, I think they go through this area, so I think there's a line kind of goes like this.
Your new pipe goes right over it.
Yeah, but there's a 48-inch pipe. Nothing in this area. I mean, when we survey, we normally,
Yeah, they're definitely
Check
aware
all
of
the
that, so I
utilities.
know they're tweaking the design with that and working
Pardon
with MWRA. No, we're definitely aware of that.
And we're
So,
aware of that.
Do you have permission permission from the MWRA to work on top of it?
I believe so. There's a certain amount of clearance, I think, that we need to
Can
meet,
you
so.
provide us with that MWRA letter of certification?
Sure, I can ask about that. I'm just gonna jot that. Okay.
All right, so we've got a wetlands delineation. I think you'd like some plant life description as to what you're gonna plant.
If there's any articles or reports that people have written about the destruction of chemicals through the absorption by plants, any information like that that you could send?
Yeah,
would-
we'll do some research about it.
Just to so we can understand better how that system works and what
Right.
kinds of plants should be involved.
Right, but this.
Understanding that that's not
This
a-
one does not
this
involve that.
does not involve
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
I
we're gonna.
I understand that.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay, good.
Now, is this tied into the new office building that's going in that cloverleaf?
No. This is,
Familiar with that?
I'm sorry?
You're familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that, the building that you're talking about. I don't know where it is, but I do know that this is not related to any of the new projects or anything going on in this area.
Right
This-
where the salt storage sits.
The salt storage is about right here. This is a DOT depot. They have a salt shed right here, about approximately right here.
So if you don't consider tying those in two
Uh,
projects together?
No, the project, when this project was commissioned, it was really to help, like Tom pointed out, the impaired water program. DOT's roadway services is, contributing, stormwater to contribute to that impairment. So they're trying to do anything they can to kind of alleviate that negative impact. So it's not related to any new buildings or any new projects that they're building.
How about the catch basins on the expressway? Can we do anything with the catch basins to filter out some of the oil?
Where on the expressway can
Well,
you?
you said that the drainage for this project,
The contributing drainage project is about from here to approximately here. That kind of drains this way
But-
into the river.
the first flush comes from the surface of the roadway.
Right.
Is there anything, and that surface water is collected, it goes into a catch basin, a piping system?
Right.
That reaches here? Are we doing anything to, up at the catch basins to put in any filtering systems there?
In the catch
In the roadway,
basins?
yeah.
No, we're not doing those. We're not doing those. I know, I'm aware of there's some technologies within the catch basins that provide some kind of a treatment. There's like, some of them are like preparatory, specially designed catch basin that by themselves, they provide some treatment and filtering. Is this what you?
Right.
Okay. No, we're not
Oil
doing some of them.
filters,
Yeah. They're,
so
go ahead.
you're just letting everything flush down till it hits your spot, hits your new basin,
Right.
okay? So you're not doing anything up at where the water originates, the drainage originates at the expressway on the roadway. And all that contaminated water goes into the catch basin and then down to where you're gonna have your new retention basins.
Right.
You're not doing anything, best management practice worldwide are not to do anything at the source of the origination of the water? You're saying that's best management practice?
They are BMPs to modify those existing catch basins, and provided, I think, there's a lot of considerations here. So if you, for example, there are catch basins here and here and here. If you want to modify those catch basins, obviously, you run, a lot of inconvenience, to disrupt the traffic. Because right now, the drainage systems, if I understand you, sir, correctly, the drainage systems, including the catch basins and also those pipes underneath the highway,
Right.
they're already laid out there. And to actually modify a lot of them will involve a lot of roadway work, disruption of traffic and stuff like that. So what we are trying to do is really trying to minimize those impacts and trying to divert the first flush to treat it. That's,
I mean, do you have a long-term maintenance protocol that says when I repave the street and I regrind it down, that I'm gonna put filter fabrics, okay, to cap some of that particular matter from the grinding before they resurface it, before it gets into the pipe? You follow me?
Yeah, I mean, that should normally be done by, that type of work, so, protection of any type of catch basins. But that would be a roadway activity. I mean, like I'm saying, this particular project is related to the capture of the stormwater. So, that should be a standard roadway type of protocols to protect catch basins while they're doing that. But I see what you're saying, but the idea, like Jan was saying, was to basically collect that water, divert it to the BMP. Because I don't know if you saw in here, it's a lot easier to go in and maintain the BMP than to try to keep taking care of the catch basins along the roadway. So part of this design includes a 14-foot wide gravel access little roadway through here, as well as a turnaround to be able to access this, a lot easier without disrupting traffic. So this is more like a, concentration point, a collection point, rather than have to deal with, the I-93 traffic every time you want to, try to maintain, those individual catch basins.
Okay, so we don't kick the can down the road here. We've got a plan. We need three things: the wetlands delineation we have to check on. We can't do it with the snow, so that's going to entail some time. We don't want to interfere with your construction schedule because we think it's a good idea. But it might be better if we had the information on the plant life. That's number two. Number three is the MWRA permission. Given that, our next meeting is when, Kathy?
The 10th of March.
How does that, we won't be able to inspect it on the 10th of March, so we'd want to inspect it sometime before then. There's a lot of snow out there, and I'm not sure if the flags will be visible for a month or so. If we were to continue it until the 10th, that would give you time to give us the MWRA certification, the plant capabilities in terms of breaking down the chemicals. And then we could set a date at that time. And we usually do it, we can do it like the next Saturday, the 17th,
14th March.
the 14th would be the, okay. Is that acceptable to you in terms of your scheduling?
Yeah, what we could do is we could contact our DOT contact and just find out what that schedule is and see how that works.
All right.
We should be able to get back to you
All right.
even later this week. So
That's good, if you get back in touch with Kathy. We're trying to facilitate this
exactly.
project, I think it's a
Yep,
good idea.
Would definitely appreciate it.
Um,
Yeah.
But before we go on, are there any abutters, members of the public, citizens that'd like to make a comment or ask a question? Any other comments from the
I
commission?
you were dealing with site C. What about site D and E? Are they?
Yeah, those are outside of jurisdiction
Okay,
under the Wetlands
but
Protection
just
Act.
out of information, so you're doing another basin there as well in both of those locations?
Let's see. Yep, D is
D is also an infiltration basin. In this case, it's the primary mechanism will be involved with infiltration as well. I think do we have it, John? Yeah, this is going to change a little bit, in part because there's the existing MWRA line, so we have to clear that. I think investigation showed that we do have the vertical clearance to do it. This area will have to, this is going to change a little bit, but nonetheless, this is outside the jurisdiction area, so that's basin D.
But it's the same strategy, just a larger capacity.
Right, but in this case, I think the proposed idea would be there will be some kind of an under drain system to collect the leachate from, the reason is being the soil underneath, and they're not as infiltratable based on the geotechnical investigation. That's why we introduced the under drain.
Yep.
All right. So do we have a drawing for this is A. Is A in no?
Boston
E.
is
No,
A is
it's
Boston.
Okay,
So
yeah,
it
sorry.
would be
Yep, so be
E.
E,
Okay.
yeah.
E here, as you know, this is the depot, and these two are existing ponds for the depot, if you're familiar with it. So we're really not doing much over here. We found out that part of the runoff from the highway kind of goes somehow mysteriously into the pond, which in my opinion they probably shouldn't, because these ponds are supposed to be responsible for the development right here. But they come in here nonetheless, and then where they come in is very, very close to the outfall. So what we're doing is trying to, now that it's already coming in, we try to kind of, and also the outfall is in a pretty bad shape. So we're trying to, this is really not a full removal mechanism as this one and this one. This is just trying to clean up the outfall and make sure if it comes in, let it come in and have a little bit sediment time and then leave. So it's gonna, this is more, in my opinion, like a maintenance project to kind of clean up the outfall thing.
Redirect the inflow.
Right, we're
clean
not
up
gonna
the-
make this pond bigger or smaller because they're designed for their purposes. So,
Well, the original purpose.
the
not
original
current.
purposes, exactly, exactly. We can't do much about it. So,
Okay, if you can get us that material in advance of the March 10th meeting, that would be very helpful to us, and we'll schedule a site walk very soon thereafter, probably the 14th.
I'd just like to reinforce the point that was made earlier about having the estimated work schedule with start and completion dates. That would help.
Right.
Okay,
That's
that's
good. Can we make that number
Yep.
4?
Yeah, we'll definitely can get back to you guys soon on that.
But I agree, this is the type of work we'd like to see being done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're done. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sure.
Next on the agenda is 0 Central Avenue, that's the town of Milton. Clark, have you made a request to the commission?
I did send over a letter earlier today requesting a continuance until March 10th.
Any questions, concerns about the continuance?
Yes. How long is this and Mr. Connolly's project gonna be continued?
Is that,
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
is that a
How
question?
long is this project and Mr. Connolly's project gonna continue? Because it doesn't look as though Mr. Connolly's here tonight.
I know he's busy with snow removal on several of his projects, so I know he sent over a request to continue until March also.
Ooh, the Henry's building has a flat roof, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yes.
it does. There was already a collapse in the middle, and yes, it's a concern.
I think they'll hear a degree of increasing frustration with continuations of continuances. So anything that can be done to terminate the ongoing continuances and get business at hand would really be great. And I know there are circumstances like the ones we have right now. that
This
are
one's a little bit
understandable.
over the top, but yes, we have been working on it. I know that, I know the chairman of the Board of Selectmen has been meeting, trying to, bring this thing to a head and, finish it.
We're of like mind.
I'm sorry?
We are of like mind, at least
Yes.
I will say.
And
I am.
I agree.
Indeed.
going back to the building itself, we do have the police department, the fire department, and the building inspector watching the building very carefully to make sure that there's nothing, again, nothing's going to happen to the public because of the building itself.
So my recollection is that the largest, or the issue revolving around the demolition is the water testing of the wells. Is there another significant issue beyond the water testing of the wells?
Yes, there is.
What was that?
Where does the drainage go? Because our
Oh, because
latest information is that they didn't go where
Right.
they thought they did.
And we were supposed to
Right.
see a plan. There's supposed to be a plan coming to us showing the drainage pattern.
Okay, can we make a statement here saying that it's our expectation to be able to resolve the issue on March, during the March meeting?
It's fine with me.
I mean, we should be able to make that, right?
Well, are you mixing the town
Thank
with
you.
131? This is 0 Central Avenue, which is different than 131. And the problem
Well,
is that
131, you're right. I'm
each
sorry.
one is getting, each side would claim that the other side is bogging them down. It's clear that it's been bogged down. But I think the drainage issue
It's 131.
is 131.
That's correct.
And as is the well testing.
You are correct.
Then what's the issue for the town?
I don't know.
What's the issue for the town?
Ours has to do with the method of taking the building down. The original RFP said we were coming in from the side. Coming in from the side is going on Mr. Conley's land to take our building down.
Right.
The issue there is potentially an environmental one of what's underneath
The
there.
tanks, whatever.
We're not looking to make anything happen in that area on those tanks. In order to come in from the street, it's a different method of demolition, and it isn't exactly the way we plan to take it down, so therefore there are other factors involved, primarily money.
And you'd have to rebid it, would you not?
We would. We believe we would, because it's not what was in the original RFP.
And it's beyond the date, isn't it? Awarding date?
Bless you.
Bless you.
Don't you have so many days that you have to review the contract?
Right now, we're fine with the contract because of the selectmen did extend the contract date at the last selectmen's meeting. I think it was last Wednesday. They did extend it, and it still goes back to, there's negotiations going on to get to fruition.
Okay. Any
Can
other?
yeah, before we leave this, and I'd like to send a message back to the selectmen. I am very concerned about what's underground. And I think we need a licensed site professional, an LSP, to tell us exactly what's underground, even though some of the oil may not be under the town's property, but that the town is working adjacent to the building foundation. And the RISA report says that Conley's building foundation holds all the oil contaminants in place. And I'm concerned about the town working next to that building foundation, that if they disturb that, where is the oil gonna go? And
Oh, one sec. You good?
I also think that we need to face the problem is the DEP granted approval for the Conley building as a manufacturing site, and now we're turning it into a housing site.
That's a different issue. We're talking about demolition.
No, it's all related.
But we're talking about demolition, and I'd like to try to keep them separate.
Right, and it's also a different notice of intent. So there are two separations. This is central, this is Zero Central, which is the town, and you're talking about 131. And I know they're interrelated, because you're right, if the foundation is somehow disturbed, you'd be correct. But the issue is that the town is, we've got an aerial building. This is up. So I'm not sure how that could,
Well, I don't know how far down the town wants
I
to
can answer
go.
both your questions. Right now, the footings that are down there are going to be taken out. When we take out those footings, what's in the ground is going to be made known. That comes into Craig's piece about what would the LSP see when we take those things out. We know that, and we want to make sure we have a clean site too. Having an LSP inspect the site, either as or right after we take that building down, is not a problem.
Mr. Conley was saying that their plan for the demolition was only superstructure, no ground level work or below.
That's not
That's
what
what he-
it's changed.
That's what he was saying. He was saying that they weren't removing anything below, they weren't removing the tanks, they weren't removing the foundations, they were working up. And you're saying now that the town is planning on removing foundations as well.
Our part of the building has always been to take out
Everything.
everything that we own.
Including the footings, right, on,
The Conley portion of the building was to take down just the building,
the
and
superstructure.
it was supposed to have been taken down back in the fall, so it would have been taken down fall, early winter.
Yep.
So that their construction season would have been take out the rest of it. How timing is going to work now, I don't know.
Right.
But they eventually have to take those pieces out.
Right.
We know that. Our part was to take out what we own so that we had down to virgin ground.
Agree. Yeah.
Is there any discussion about, we're clearly going to have to ask for an LSP.
Yes,
Have you had any discussions with the Conleys about sharing an LSP?
no, not at this point.
All right. All right, I mean, it's hard to talk about one without talking about
The other.
the other one, and that's true. And it's also difficult to talk about the demolition part without the project part included.
I disagree.
But we still have
Well,
notice of,
it may be, because the demolition plan has changed.
But I don't think the demolition is tied to the proposed work. The demolition work is, as long as we can evaluate, determine and set the line of what the level of demolition is it to the ground, or is it everything within the ground?
Oh, I agree with that. I
As soon
agree
as,
with that.
if we're into the ground, then there's a whole nother level of information that needs to go, but that's not what they had proposed to date.
No, initially, the demolition plan, the first one,
Yep.
had a detention pond right on top of the tanks. They
Correct,
removed that.
but they were
That's
talking
the
about
change that
leaving the
I-
foundations in place, therefore they were only bringing down the superstructure, they weren't doing any
Oh,
foundation.
I agree with that.
131.
At 131,
131,
not,
right.
right.
But I'm
So-
hung up on the tanks, because the detention pond, which is clearly needed
Yes,
to protect the site, just on demolition.
Yes.
I'm not talking about whatever the development is. I'm talking about the different, phases of demolition. Because at one time, it was going to be done all at once, and then there were two components. There was a demo, and then there was the site development,
Yes.
and then there was the project.
which I think is an improvement.
It depends if they're going into the ground.
Correct, but they're not currently proposing that. And when we talked about it and talked about the detention pond, they agreed to line the pond because they couldn't,
That's the
Provide-
that's the second pond, Mike.
what do you mean?
First pond disappeared off the plans, and it got pushed
Oh, I'm
into
talking
the
about
site
where we are
development.
now.
Okay, okay.
They're
but-
we asked them about the pond, and they said that they would line it, because they couldn't,
stabilize.
whatever, they couldn't provide information to show that it wasn't going to, that there was gonna be adequate containment without some kind of a liner. We asked for the liner, they said they could do the liner, there would not be an issue for them to do the liner. That's where I understand we are now. So the question for me is, we've asked them to do the testing on those wells that are currently in place.
Correct.
Because they're there, it's not a matter of drilling, it's a matter of just bringing someone in to do the testing. That's the thing that we wanna have done. And there's no reason, from my perspective, not to do that now, right? Because then we know what's in the
These
ground.
are all
whether
good
we're
points,
bigger
but
things.
it's the next agenda item.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to, but it is all linked. But
You're making me nervous.
We know that there's oil down the bottom of the wells. I have no idea why we don't issue an enforcement order and tell them to take the tanks out right now.
I
Right
think the
there,
first step
it-
is the testing,
Test what?
the wells.
Why? Rizzo's already tested them.
That was,
Get oil in
that
the
was
water.
now 18 years ago.
I think with the test is the first easy step, to say yes or no. And understanding that's not what we're talking about now, that's the next
You
agenda.
you put in the 6 or 7 wells. You already know in the Rizzo report that there's oil at the bottom of the well. What else do you want?
Well, there was. 1997.
1997, there was. Everybody agrees to that, right?
All right, well, let's take it one step at a time, because that really is 131, not 0
Right.
Central Avenue. So the question is, Milton has asked for a continuance. We've taken it under consideration, discussed it. Are there any comments from the public or abutters, interested parties that have any thoughts on this? If not, we can continue the discussion, but I think most of our discussion focuses on the next agenda item, which we're going to have to consider a request for a continuance on that one as well. But as far as the town of Milton goes, I see no reason to
Right.
not agree to a continuance.
If we can set,
Agreed.
If we what?
if we can set parameters of what's gonna happen on March 10th.
I don't think that they know. I don't know how we can, predict the future. A lot of this has to do with negotiating going on between the town and the Conleys.
Yeah, that's why we merely asked to have a message conveyed that we're anxious to move forward.
Oh, sure, I mean,
We can't do much beyond that.
I agree. It is certainly our considered opinion and consensus of the commission that we want to facilitate and expedite this whole process. It's a public safety hazard, and everybody should be working cooperatively towards getting it down safely.
You've made the point, and I know that there's two of the selectmen watching it on TV. I will deliver the same message back to all three tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Good.
All right.
All right, so we're all in agreement? The continuance?
Yes.
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 Bless you, son. Thank you very much.
You want to stay for 131?
Next, number 3 on the agenda is notice of intent, 131 Elliott Street. This is the demolition. So it's not the project, it's just a demolition notice of intent. And I received, as did Kathy, an email from Steve Conley saying, Kathy, to follow up on our phone conversation today, I cannot attend tonight's meeting. I am working, parentheses, snow plowing and removal, close parentheses. I also have employees working tonight. We will be at the March 2015 meeting for the 40B notice of intent, and we can address a demo notice of intent at that time. Please thank the board for its consideration regarding this matter. And I had conveyed through others to Mr. Conley that because at the last meeting, he had asked for continuance, and I had granted that as an administrative matter. We then had a discussion and thought that any any continuance should be discussed in public session. So that's what we're here to do, to consider this request. It's still on the agenda, but we have an applicant that's requesting a continuance. So that's open for discussion. And some comments have already been made.
Well, we've
about
already
what we
made,
do.
yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Well, I guess what's before us is that before we continue, because once we continue it, it's off the agenda. And the public meeting law suggests that we can't go backwards and talk about it, so we need to talk about it now. Should we ask for, under the enforcement order authority, a test of those wells? It's not expensive, it's not time consuming, it's a simple task. It would give us more data, we need data.
Why don't just ask, as part of the enforcement order, removal of the tanks?
Let's
I
take
mean,
the first
let's
step, let's take
do
the
the
first
first
step
step.
first. Because I'm sure that Mr. Conley would want to be here. You know, removing the tanks is costly, it's time consuming, it creates other issues. I'm sure he'd want to be here to be heard. And he's told us he can't be here.
But how
But
many
the,
times has he told us, okay, I mean, he's had other opportunities.
I agree with you. I did.
But aside from that, we need the data. We need to know now what's in those tanks, not 10 years ago, not 18 years ago, but now. So I think we should hire someone and
Well, that's something else. One is the enforcement order would be to suggest or to order that the test be done. A second one would be to hire a consultant to assist us. I'm not sure at this point what we need, whether it's a hydrologist. We don't know where the water is going, number one. What we thought we
well,
had
it's a
by way
second
of
issue,
data.
right, yeah.
Right, but that's, I'm going to Judith's question about whether or not we need a consultant. I don't know what kind of a consultant. And that may be something, again, that Mr. Conley would want to address. But the first step is easy. It's not costly, it's not cumbersome. It's just test the water, or whatever's at the bottom of the monitoring well. I mean, so, does anybody think that's a good idea or a bad idea, or want to do something
I
different?
don't know what really, I mean, given the amount of surface water around today, I don't know what that's gonna approve. We already know what's down there, what was down there.
Well, I'm not afraid to ask. I mean, everybody's tiptoeing around it. There are 6 monitoring wells. Nobody wants to test them.
test them, yeah.
It's easy.
It would seem that has to be done either as part of the demolition or part of the construction. And if this commission needs to have that information to do the best work that it can under the bylaws of the town, then why not ask for the wells to be tested as part of the demolition?
But wouldn't it be better for us
No,
to
no,
hire someone?
No, now,
Yeah,
I would
right
say
now.
prior to the next meeting.
Yes.
I don't want to tie that to the demolition. I want to know that information prior to our
Separate
approval of the
information.
demolition to proceed. Why would we wait?
I see the point.
Right?
And can't we hire our own person? Wouldn't that be better? You know, so we have an independent directly?
Well,
Do we need Conley's permission to go onto the land to test the well?
well, that's why we need an enforcement order. Right. If he stopped us, that would be, that would not advance his cause, I don't think. But certainly, we'd have to reach out to him and issue an enforcement order to have him tested. The problem with us hiring a consultant is, I still don't know what kind of a consultant we need yet. We're going to need an LSP. We're going to need somebody that's a hydrologist to tell us where that water is going. And I don't know if we need a toxicologist, but I don't want to start running around having too many. If we ordered him to go to a certified lab that's recognized by DEP, and there are lots of them around, so.
Would it make sense to ask for two things then if we're going to ask for the testing of the wells before demolition? The second thing being the drainage.
Oh,
Well, that's,
right,
But-
but we've asked for that a
But
lot.
couldn't,
Well, I'd combine the two of them.
Sure.
couldn't the town engineer or someone give us advice as to what sort of licensed professional would be doing this sort of testing?
Sure.
Yeah,
Right.
so then we could, again, hire our own person to do that.
But the town engineer has already told us that the original contention, that the drainage, the sumps inside the factory were connected to the town's drainage system, proved to be inaccurate.
Yeah,
Because they did run a television scope down there, and it does not go
Doesn't
into
go.
town. We don't know where it goes.
Right.
We think it discharges into the deposit directly, but we don't know how it gets there. And we certainly need to know if there is contaminated water running off the demolition site, not project, but demolition. We need to know where it's
right,
going.
in an uncontrolled way.
Correct.
Yeah.
It seems we were supposed to have that information by now.
Correct. I'm just a little uncomfortable because we talked about it with Mr. Conley before, and he's not here
Understood.
to respond. I'm trying to find the path
but
of
he
least
knows we're
resistance.
concerned. I mean,
Oh, sure he
this is the topic. I think we should,
My concern about hiring another professional at this time is just delaying the process. Doing that requires, I mean, I'm not opposed to the information coming through Connolly from a licensed source, certified source. I'm more worried about the delay in the process because getting a licensed professional means that we need to go out, clearly define what that person's scope is, which we don't know at this time, and put it out to a bid for 3 different people to get that back to get approval before they can do anything. So there's a whole cycle there that I don't think is worth, it doesn't gain us enough for what it requires, And that's 100% of my concern, is just delay in time, more delay in time,
yeah.
you know.
I concur, and I also would like to have the information that we're talking about in advance of making such a hiring. Because, going to John's point, we have to know who to hire, what levels of expertise and types of expertise.
And define a scope.
That's exactly right.
Well, couldn't we start with just hiring an LSP to just, okay? Just
Oversee
back
it.
up- Wait a minute, back up for a minute, to find out the status of the DEP's determination on the site. And then we could have that LSP review what we have today to determine what other consultants we need.
I think eventually we will need an LSP.
I'm
You
saying-
heard the difficulty because we just talked to Mr. Clark on the town's demolition project.
Right.
And, there's a concept out there of perhaps they can share an LSP in some proportion, given the size of the different sites. And I think we're getting the cart before the horse to ask for an LSP now. They need to get together. The town and the Commons.
I agree.
And somehow, in some fashion, that will happen. I just hope it happens sooner rather than later. So I go back to the testing of the wells is the first step. The definition of the scope of a consultant or several consultants and an LSP also, and it could be the same person. We could get an LSP that has the background and expertise to advise us in that area. It could be one individual. I mean, we're trying to make it as cost-effective as possible for for both applicants.
And timely.
Right,
And
move it
time.
along, yeah.
So, yes, I agree. The issue of tracking the water path, should we do research and determine who would do, I mean, between talking to the town engineers or talking to other site civil engineers to find out what kind of a firm and who would typically do that work, to pull the trigger on that as well? Because I don't think we're ready to pull, I mean, it's one thing to test the wells, because there's a lot of people who can do that. I think the tracking those pipes is a more specific task.
Right.
So it might take some legwork on our part, just to get it to
Wouldn't
go.
they do some sort of a dye exam, put dye in one end and see if it comes out?
That's the way to do it.
They started that, Kathy, didn't they? Wasn't that one of the first things that they did? Bill, do you know more about what the dye test was by our town engineer?
Yes. They actually cameraed the whole system out there. But I was getting back to, I think it's Michael's question on who's going to do that testing. I'd suggest that you ask an LSP to come in and do the testing for you. Their firm would then,
Bring in the right people.
yes,
Right.
they would guarantee that it has a QA/QC for where the water went, how it's being tested, and what it's being tested for. What you're asking is for testing based on a previous report that was already done once before. So whether it's Rizzo that comes back or whether it's Green, we use Green Environmental to do our testing. We've had an LSP already come out to our site. I don't know that the Conleys ever have. I'll ask. I don't know if they've ever had an LSP look at the site. I know that Rizzo did it. I know that Green did ours. We can ask another LSP if they don't like either of those, but I'd suggest that we use an LSP because we can then follow, and it will answer the question of who's testing it, what are they testing, and did they get what they were supposed to get? And I think that fits everybody's.
Your idea makes perfect sense to me, except for the fact that Mr. Conley's not here. And that's why I took the baby step of using an enforcement order to say, test the wells. It's simple, it's cheap, and it's quick.
Yep.
And I think if we're going to order that an LSP be brought on, he needs to be here. Because whether the town pays for it, whether Mr. Conley pays for it, if there's some proportionate sharing of costs, I think that's significant. I'd also like to hear recommended LSPs from the town and from Mr. Conley. So I don't disagree with your point. I mean, ultimately, that's probably the way to do it. But because we're trying to speed the process and get more data for our consideration, I think the simplest and quickest and cheapest way is to just test the water.
Well, in conjunction with that, and understanding that you don't want to make that decision without him being here,
Right.
can we ask him to provide a short list, 3 or 4 LSPs that he would be willing, and then we can cross-reference with the town, and hopefully come out of that meeting with an LSP that we're willing to proceed with.
Sure, but that's March 10th.
Right.
Right.
I know,
If we
but
issue an
I would
enforcement order, we can say, test the water tomorrow.
Right, I know, and I think we should. I think we should go in with the goal of going to the March 10th meeting, knowing what the condition is in the ground, but at the same time, to make progress on the path of the
Oh,
water.
do them both, okay.
Let's just say, yeah, we'll say, test the water, bring that information to the next meeting. And at the same time, we'll say, bring a list of 3 or 4 LSPs that you're willing for us to proceed with, and we will select one. And whether it's a limited scope just for this portion of the evaluation, or whether that person becomes someone who is involved for the life of the project, that's beyond the discussion. It's really, we're looking at this little piece, and maybe that gives them a leg up or not, based on their performance. Is
Okay.
that
That's great. We do 2 different things.
2 different things?
All right. Is there a consensus?
I
you want
agree.
to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that all right? Because a lot of this, because we're in public session and it's on the agenda, I think we're duty-bound to discuss it. But, the original motion was for a continuance, not a motion, but a request from Mr. Conley. So I just don't want to do anything that would put him at a substantive disadvantage. I think we could vote for an enforcement order, and then agree to send him a letter asking him to provide, 3 LSPs.
But I don't
And
want the
suggestions
town,
as to the
I
scope.
don't want the town to be at any disadvantage either. So Bill, would that work in terms of your coordination? Does it matter?
That's fine. I mean, he can choose whoever he wants for his LSP. I did have a question on your,
Although his LSP, we have to be careful, this is going to be our LSP. The applicant has to pay for it, but they
He works for
respond to us.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts?
I'm
But
sorry,
what were you gonna
what
say,
were you
Bill?
saying?
Yeah.
I did have one. You used a number of tests because of the groundwater wells.
Correct.
You said there were 6.
Well, I think some number of them were inside the foundation.
There you go.
Nobody's going in there.
There you go.
I get that.
There are 6, 4 of them are outside and 2 of them are inside.
No, I agree, just the outside one.
Just outside ones.
Yeah.
Just,
You
Good
put it away.
clarification.
With now 8 feet of snow on the roof. Nobody should go in there.
Whoa, really?
I've been in there and I don't like it.
All right. So are there any comments or questions from abutters or members of the public? Hearing none, is there a motion to issue an enforcement order to test the wells that are outside the building
Prior to the next meeting,
with the results to us?
with
prior
the
to the next
results
meeting?
to us prior to the next meeting. And ask Mr. Conley, or direct Mr. Conley to come to the next, or provide prior to the next meeting, 3 or more LSPs that he is comfortable with us proceeding with. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. None. Unanimous. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Conley. So that was 3, is continued to March 10th
Bill.
at the request of the applicant. Next on the, and Kathy, do you have a copy of this request from the applicant from Steve Conley? All right, next on the agenda is 693 711 Randolph Avenue, continued hearing. Good evening.
Good evening. You guys all set?
Yes, sir.
Jim Burke, DeSalle Burke and Associates, representing Mr. Holland here in a development at 693 711 Randolph Ave. Tonight, we're just kind of here for informational purposes. We walked the site about 2 weeks ago. There was no snow on the ground, and trying to determine a path for some soil testing.
Around any wetlands?
And, well, we came up with a, yeah, no kidding, everything's covered. But,
Thank you.
just like I say, a couple of handouts that shows you the equipment that we're proposing to use and the path of which we're gonna go about doing it. I've got 8 test pits proposed for groundwater and soil determination for stormwater. We're proposing to access the area over by, right behind, there's a large yard garage, big building running right about here. Behind that, the fence stops and allows us to kind of scoot right between the 2 25-foot buffers and head right up the hill.
You mean coming in through the town DPW
yard.
yard? Okay.
I have a letter made out, and I met with Joe Lynch, Director of Public Works. We discussed the access. He said, write me a letter. I gotta bring it up with the selectman. He's gonna meet with the selectman on the 2 weeks from last Thursday, so I believe next Thursday, to discuss it. That's when we're gonna have the opportunity to have access and start our testing. I don't anticipate them having a problem. Joe doesn't have a problem with it if we're outside of any sort of operational areas that he would have a concern with. So I think he'll support us at the selectmen's meeting, but until we hear from that, we won't have a definitive answer whether we can access through this area. We walked it, we can avoid all significant trees. you know, it's, I wanted to come in through this direction at first, but the terrain seems a little bit tough and, you know, made it a little bit more tougher with regards to some of the tree placements and the like. So this is actually a little bit wider as well. I have a sketch here that kind of shows you why I chose these locations.
Just take a step back, give us a big picture. The test pits are for what purpose?
Stormwater, to make a determination of the soil's capability of accepting stormwater recharge.
All right, and are you identifying certain areas to do the test pits that conform to your recharge areas?
Right here.
Okay.
And you'll see the yellow represents our stormwater retention, and the red pits are where we're proposing it. We have hired a geotechnical engineer that will be attending these soil testing, Nick Laney out of HML Associates in Hingham. We're also proposing to do 4 borings across where the bridge connection is. And Nick will be running the show on that as well. We've got New England boring, is that correct?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire boring. Coming in, and he walked the site with us as well. There was snow on the ground then, and he didn't seem to have a concern with getting his bombardier rig in there to take care of it. So, and again, no trees, we can access all areas, move in, move out, around, and we won't have to clear any trees.
Is it a day's worth of work? I mean, he's doing it,
I see,
Or is he-
personally, the test pits alone, the way I see it, we'll backfill as we go. Getting out there, I think will just take a half a day all by itself, just to, you know, maneuver. And we'll probably get, I'd say, 1 hole dug on the first day. Then once we get that going, you know, we could, you know, once we get up there, we'll be able to move a little bit quicker. I see minimum 3 days.
The borings is a separate operation. That'll be like 1 day in the wetlands.
Right,
for the,
1 day.
for the borings.
I'm just thinking about the equipment. You get it out there, you're gonna leave it sitting out there
Yeah.
for 3
Yeah.
The
days.
majority of the test pits are outside the
Right.
the buffer.
Yep.
You know, it's, you know, getting through, you know, the wetland area.
The
The
number
buffers,
of test pits again was, number of test pits?
8,
8. So,
minimum of 8 right now.
thank you.
Off topic a little bit, but
Sure.
just by way of housekeeping. Kathy, did you have a chance to give Mr. Holland the
Did.
letter? Okay.
Just did.
And just so the commission knows, we had voted to deny the application under the bylaw at our last meeting, and within the 21 days, we served that denial. This discussion tonight is under the wetlands, the State Wetlands Protection Act.
Correct.
Good? Okay.
Now, you're saying a minimum of 8,
Correct.
but how many as well, possibly?
I'd say, let's say, I mean, it's anticipating the soils. If the soils start to change, in a sense, if I have like gravel here and I have
Right.
till here,
You have to go to
I'll want to put another one in there. So, I mean, I'd say maybe another maximum of 4.
But not within the wetland at
No,
all?
not at
Nothing
all.
at all?
Nothing
Okay.
at all.
But it's all within the chamber zone, right? It's all within
Yes.
the yellow zone?
Exactly.
100%. Do you plan on, you don't plan on doing any test pits along the foundation wall at the edge of the wetland? Because that's a significant structural potential.
Not at this time, and, you know, I gave the plans to my geotech,
Yeah.
and he may have a different opinion.
Which foundation wall?
The big one that's overlooking the wetland,
I'd say the one here.
the bigger
To
one
the
that's
right.
along to the right.
The long one?
Here?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the
Okay.
big one.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, because I don't think, we had a discussion at the last meeting, but I don't think I saw the plans of your moving the snow removal area.
Oh, unfortunately, I didn't bring them with me tonight. But we did, you know, we've made some revisions, and from, you know, as we discussed last time, we were just waiting for the right opportunity to submit the plans, you know. And it now sounds
Surprise
crazy.
us or what?
No, it's not that. It's just I'm trying to keep the number of revisions down to a minimum. I'm expecting, you know, a peer review to come forward. But like I say, you know, I have no problems, you know, releasing, I can get you a set of drawings for the next meeting in March, so you can take a look at that.
Okay. Okay. I didn't mean to distract you or interrupt you.
No?
Do you have more?
No, that's it. I just, like I say, it's information for you guys. I didn't want to go crashing in there and you guys find out about it later on, so.
When do you anticipate doing this?
Like I say, I would expect the borings could be done as early as next week.
With the snow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Probably
says he
better.
can, he
It's
says he
better.
can do
Better
it.
with that.
Yeah, it actually
Cold
is. I
ground.
mean, the
Frozen ground?
yeah, frozen ground and actually, the snow will actually float a little bit. It might be tough getting through. I don't know how much it'll sink. There's not a lot of pressure, pounds per square inch on that rig.
On the rig.
Yeah, but it certainly will compact the snow. But yeah, I would expect the borings to be done next week, and I would expect the test pits to be done probably the first week in March, given, depending on what the selectmen do.
So
Might be the last week in
we
February.
probably could have the results from the wetlands area before the next meeting, but we were waiting on the approval from the town for the test pits. I don't know if we'll have that before.
Yeah, like I
the
say,
10th
you
or not.
know, by the end of next Thursday, I asked Joe, okay, so we get approval from the selectmen that night, he goes, you can go in Friday. I would probably anticipate going in Monday, and give us the week to just kind of finish everything up. And I don't know if we've talked to the schedule with the site contractor yet, but that's what I anticipate.
We
I
could
think
have
that's
the
the last
borings
week in February.
information for the March meeting.
I think
Yeah,
we can. I think
we'd
we
have
can
the
avoid it.
information,
Great.
right, and whether I would have to change, I don't think I'd have my drainage changed if I had to at all. If I like I said to my client, I go, the only way it's gonna change is if it'll get smaller, it'll become better, because I've made an assumption that the soils are poor. So if they turn out better,
Right.
then you guys will know. So.
All right. Any questions?
Yes. What about the vernal pool?
We,
Are we gonna have them hire Mr., whatchamacallit, Barrett?
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Hmm.
And I did not call him, so I guess that one's on me, to see whether or not they can be done. Is that the consensus, that you can take a look and give us an estimate? I mean, I know there was a discussion with your
Yeah,
clients, who said you have to have defined
And
boundaries.
Scott did a research on all the information from the ANRAD process, including information from Liddy, I think his name was,
Oh,
the
Liddy.
gentleman you guys hired.
Yes.
And there was no evidence of vernal pools, and I know Scott's preparing a document for that, and I'm sure it'll be ready for March 10th, outlining the data that was collected at that time and why he believes there's not a vernal pool out there. However, it doesn't preclude the fact that you guys would.
So you wanted to contact Matt?
Would you call him?
Byrne?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
sure.
Fantastic. And I think the issue is going to be whether or not it's a defined area.
Correct.
What we're talking about, what Greg was talking about, is a rather large diffuse area where water gathers.
Yeah, but we discussed at the last meeting was that a defined area can occur within a larger diffused area.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We're really talking about down toward the bottom right-hand corner,
Correct.
Not mistaken, it was over
right in there.
Yes.
That's right,
Right.
exactly.
Was there, that's my recollection as well, but was there something there that implied that might be, that something might be happening there?
One of the neighbors, we're talking about the wood frogs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Over there, the
Right.
peepers.
okay.
Mr. Lovato,
Right,
is that his name?
Yes. Yeah.
that's correct. Any questions from abutters, members of the public, citizens? Hearing none,
See you March 10th. Can we have yes, we request an extension till March 10th.
thank you, okay. All right, perfect, thank you very much. And Arthur,
I'll call him tomorrow. No, Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wednesday's gonna Thursdays.
All right, next on the agenda is notice of intent, 395 Hillside Street. It's 95. On the agenda, is it 75 on the?
No, 395.
It's 395.
Sure, two of them.
We've got two. We've got 395 and 375. There are actually two of them. 395. All right.
I'm looking for Marion. Did anybody see her go out?
Yeah, she's been here.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on our vernal pool or Eric? No problem.
Hey, can we take a recess?
If they're wood frogs there, it's a vernal pool. If they're peepers, not necessarily.
Probably?
And we're back on the record. And we are addressing 395 Hillside Street. Would you introduce yourselves, please?
Hi, I'm Tom Palmer. I think I know many of you. I'm the wetlands consultant for the owner, which is Hillside Street Realty Trust.
Thank you, Tom.
My name is Milton Tremitzis. I'm the project manager working for the owner as well.
I'm Jeff Kane, the civil engineer with LAL Engineering Group, doing the design for the septic system for the project.
And I'm Marion McKettrick, and I'm the attorney representing Mr. Rubin, who is the trustee for the trust. And most of the talking tonight is likely to be done by Tom, who's doing the environmental analysis. I just wanted to explain very generally, which I did in my letter as well, that this project is a reconstruction renovation project for the garage or the barn at this property. It's a 12,000 square foot lot, so it's a small lot for Hillside Street. And both the house and the barn are historic structures. The house is about 1870. The barn was probably 1918, maybe a little bit earlier. And they both look pretty much the way they did originally. So the owner, who does not live here and only uses this house from time to time, mostly for family gatherings, wants to add a bedroom and a bathroom, but does not want to change the architecture of the house and the barn. So he has chosen to propose a bedroom and a bathroom in the garage or in the barn, which was large enough for a small bedroom and bathroom, and to leave a parking space in the garage. And so the project requires a number of permissions. We've already been to the Board of Appeals. They had to grant a variance for this project because it's a change of use and because it's living space in the garage, which is not allowed by our bylaw. And there are conditions on the special permit that there can never be a kitchen in the garage. It can't be used for additional rental space or anything like that. I don't have a decision yet because it takes them a while to write their decisions, but they have voted to approve it for the variance and special permit. This now is before you because on this 12,000 square foot lot, which has an intermittent stream along one edge, to work on the barn at all, the Conservation Commission has to be involved. There's some work on the foundation of the barn, but also the proposal is to add a porch to the back of the barn, and the porch would be partially within the 25-foot zone. So we're here to talk to you about the project. Tom's going to explain his analysis of the site, and we want to get feedback from you. And I just finally want to mention that the reason Jeff Kane is here is because this house has a septic system. And in order to add one more bedroom, more capacity has to be added to the leaching field. The system was put in 1999. And in order to do that, Jeff will explain what has to be done. You have to redo the bed of the leaching field. It apparently doesn't have to be any bigger, but it's going to be done somewhat. The technology is a little bit different. The water that will, what will come out of that leaching field will be cleaner than what the original system could do. And it will occupy the same space, but the area has to be dug up in order to do the work. So that also is within your jurisdiction. And it has to be a pipe from the garage up to the tank, which is connected to the septic system, and that will require digging the earth up between the house and the barn. So I'd like to ask Tom if that's okay to explain the analysis he did of the property, and you, obviously, you're not gonna be able to look at it right away because it's too snowy.
One clarification, it may be my
Sure.
ignorance. The leaching field is under the driveway,
Yes,
and driveway's in front of the house, but I couldn't find the driveway on the map.
It doesn't really show.
it's a
on the-
gravel.
Yeah, on the survey. They didn't, since it's gravel, they didn't really give a change of area, so to speak, between the lawn. If you want, it comes in as a V shape here, and it comes down right to the front of the barn, and kind of comes back out just on
That's
the
on-
outside of that septic tank.
Okay, so it goes up
It kind of
to
has
you.
two entrances.
Horseshoe. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And this says there's a small vegetated area, probably right where the D-box is, just to kind of protect that.
The driveway is gravel, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All gravel, no bituminous.
Has it always been gravel? It's not gravel on top of any pavement or anything?
From what I've seen, no, it's just stone down, gravel, there's a, you know, fine stone, but there's no asphalt that appears to have been there. I haven't scraped it off to find out, but I find it very tough to believe, since we have the septic field right underneath the driveway, so there'd be no bituminous there, or any reason to have
It's not
bituminous.
on the gap,
No,
we'll put down the hot top, then.
no, it's just a
Gravel.
gravel, it's just a gravel, maybe some stone that's in mixed in, but nothing like that, no solid
Date
top,
on that.
nothing that would prevent venting, since you wouldn't
Yeah.
have-
January 27th, 2015.
Okay, this is the one, we've got some difficulties, I think, with the plans, because we've got 3 sets of plans. This one doesn't have the driveway. The first one filed doesn't have the septic system.
Yeah, that's why, what I started to explain to you is when we filed the NOI in January, we hadn't had the evaluation done yet of the septic system. We didn't know if any work was gonna have to be done. So the NOI is gonna have to be amended, because there is work that has to be done to dig up and then replace the leaching field in front of the garage. And we have a proposed septic system repair plan or reconstruction plan, but the Monday meeting of the Board of Health was canceled, so the Board of Health hasn't looked at it yet. So we thought we'd be coming to you today with feedback from the Board of Health saying, yes, this looks pretty good, we think we can work with this. We can't tell you that until the 23rd of February when they meet with us. So what we're here for tonight is to talk about the site, the construction work, and we'll show you the plans. That's what we put up on the board there for what we think we're going to be doing with the septic system, which is the same location where it is now. But we will not be able to show you a plan that's been approved by the Board of Health tonight.
You were gonna send this plan to us prior to this meeting? Because I haven't seen, this is the first time I'm
We
seeing this
just,
plan.
yeah, we just got this plan.
But if you could send us that plan just so that we can look at it for
Absolutely.
consideration and comment, rather than waiting, it'll prime us to be able to resolve, hopefully put everything on the table sooner.
We can send copies of it to you. Do you want a larger size,
Yes.
each one of you? Want a big size?
I would,
So you
and I'd
can
like
read
the
it?
driveway added as well,
Oh, okay.
just so that we understand where it is relative to the field conditions.
Fine, okay. Can you do that? Can you add
I
that, or
would
do you
talk
need?
to,
we'll
we'll
need
get the
site
surveyor to
plan,
update that,
surveyor
just go out and
to
do that, and then we can just update the
Thank you,
plan and get
okay.
it.
And on the plan, we want to be sure, this just may be translation, but I don't know if this is a moving target or not. I don't think it is, but the project description in the notice of intent is different than, at least in your letter, Marion. You've got a project of 7.1 feet by 16.5 feet.
You're talking about the dimensions of the porch?
Right.
Yeah,
And it's 7.8 feet and 13.9.
Yeah,
So
we're
they don't
not-
match.
that's because I was reading different, yes, that needs to be confirmed as to which it is. I asked Kathy to put the larger description in the ad, just because I wanted to make sure that we weren't advertising less than what we're trying to build on. So Milton's gonna, I don't know if I've even talked to you about this, Milton, but you do have to confirm what the actual measurements are for the porch, including the stairs, right?
Yes.
And I think Tom has a calculation for that too in his presentation. But we will give you a confirmation of the area, whatever it actually is.
But can you hold on a second?
And we'll give you a plan with the driveway, showing the driveway and the proposed septic system. What you're looking at now.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I did send a letter that Marion made copies of, a report on the site. I was invited to participate by Milton in December, and I went to the site early in December when there was no snow and flagged this stream. Curiously straight stream. And much of the upstream portion of this stream is on the adjacent property, 395, 375, I believe it is, yes, who is here tonight as well, I believe.
What did you call it?
I call it a stream, an intermittent stream. And streams aren't naturally so straight in our part of the world. Why is it so straight? It's been channelized. It's been straightened and deepened, and it is quite a rapid stream, true. It drops 15 feet from Hillside Street here to the last flag here where it goes through a gap in a stone wall. And it's noisy as it goes through. The water is moving quite rapidly. Some people may remember that this house was once owned by a former member of your commission. Quiz, who was that? Old timers?
Eleanor Anderson.
That's right. This is Ellen's house. She used to tell us over and over, there's trout in this brook. We never believed her, but some of the old plans do call it Trout Brook. I haven't seen these plans. Robert Mosey mentioned one. At any rate, we do know that further down in what I call Unquity Bottom, where the stream is more permanent, yes, there are trout because the people from DFW came out this summer and I went with them to electroshock, and we found lots of brook trout. The largest one was 19 centimeters, not very big, but we found them much further down on this side of the wetland where that small little clearing is, where there was a horse jumping area there, and where that small pond is, they call it Secret Pond or Lost Pond with a little dam on it. Down that way, geologically, the Blue Hills are rocky and they come out this way, but down here there's big sandbanks where the Unquity dump over here is built over sand. There's more sand further down the slope. That sand absorbs the rain, it lets it out slowly, and allows that brook to be perennial further down. But
why do you call it intermittent there? Of all people, I would expect you to be the disciple preaching about perennial streams.
I've been involved in a dispute that's gone to adjudicatory hearing in Walpole about this question of intermittent versus perennial. And it is a difficult thing to answer. DEP has sort of punted the whole question by saying that if a stream has a watershed less than a half square mile, it's intermittent. So to use a legal term, they are saying the definition is de jure rather than de facto. In other words, they say, we don't care what the actual behavior of the real world stream is, as long as the watershed is less than a half square mile, it's intermittent. I don't agree with that approach, and that's what the dispute is in Walpole. We have a stream that's full of trout and is fed by a very large aquifer. So even though the watershed is small, it's perennial, and we've been trying to prove that.
I got to tell you, Tom, this goes back 20 years, but back when Eleanor and Roger Craig had an option on the land across the street, adjacent to 372, we had some pretty strong findings that that area on the 372 side was the headwaters of the Pine Tree Brook.
Yes, it is Pine Tree Brook. Do you have indications that it was perennial, and what were those indications?
We didn't get into it.
Yeah,
The
I see.
problem was the
Yeah.
pool,
I see.
way back in the woods.
Yes.
was discharging backwash.
Right, I
The
remember that.
Headwaters of the
Yes.
Pine Tree Brook.
Yes, I've
And
stumbled on that.
everybody agreed that those are the headwaters.
Yes.
So we
Pine-
never got
yeah.
into the issue of whether or not it was perennial or intermittent. Nobody cared at the time.
Right.
But we sure care about it now.
Yeah, well, if you look at the last thing that was in my letter, did you see that last, the stream stats report? There's a graphic portion and a map portion. The map portion, and my printer ran out of blue, but this shows the watershed. The watershed of the stream above this site, which is this shape. And if you look at the next, the table section, you see the drainage area is 0.28. So in the DEP's point of view, it can never be perennial. I don't personally agree that, but the riverfront regulations say, they define what's a perennial, what's an intermittent stream, and they say if it's a less than 0.5 square mile, it's intermittent. Here you have 0.28. Now go down to the bottom. You see that last little box that says prob peren? They give it a 33% chance of being perennial. That's based on the algorithm that these people who did stream stats put together, where they say, we will look at soils, we will look at topography, and we will try to make an equation where we can plug in the facts we do know and get a prediction of whether a stream is intermittent or perennial. So they have,
Isn't
yeah.
this on the USGS map?
No, this is another map. It should be the second to last page of the letter.
I'm looking at the USGS.
No, don't, keep going, keep going.
No, I
All
don't want to
right.
keep going.
All right.
Presumptively,
That's right. A blue line is like the first cut. A blue line says,
you got an uphill battle here, I'm telling you.
All right.
USGS says it's presumptively perennial.
Well-
You just described it as being a bubbling brook with a lot of force going through the wall.
yes, yes.
It's the headwaters of the Pine Tree Brook.
Well,
And you're telling me it's intermittent?
I did bring the actual DEP regulations. If you want me to read the definition, I
You
will.
don't have to.
All right.
Is
But-
it pertinent? Does it make a difference to you whether it's intermittent or
Well,
perennial?
I haven't, the strongest piece of evidence is whether anybody has ever seen it dry. Now, I haven't seen it dry, but I've heard from people in the area that they have seen it dry and it regularly dries up.
If you don't have pictures with a newspaper and it dry, you're going nowhere.
I've heard that in the summertime, there's no
Hearing is
water.
not enough. We've had a
Okay.
drought. DEP has declared it drought. There is no way you could convince me, I can't speak for anybody else, but there is no way you could convince me with a USGS map with a blue line that that's an intermittent stream.
I see. So you're using a definition based on the maps.
And your description, and the fact that you
Well,
haven't proved,
it's a
it's
cascading stream.
presumptively perennial. And you have given us zero
Well, why is it
evidence that it's not.
presumptively? Because of the blue line?
Yes.
Well, I really have to look at this definition then.
Why
because
is it pertinent?
Why
I'm
is it
sorry,
Because
why
this is-
why is it pertinent?
This is how DEP describes what's intermittent and perennial.
But irrelevant, why is it pertinent to the discussion?
Project.
Because of the position of the property, it's irrelevant.
Aren't we trying to make a determination of what the character of the stream is?
Yeah.
I mean, but. the
But whether
legal
it's,
def-
whether it's intermittent or perennial isn't that irrelevant to the
No,
discussion?
it's relevant because if it's perennial, there's a different resource area involved. It's a 200-foot riverfront area.
Okay, granted,
Yeah,
it changes the
yeah,
resource area,
right.
but because of the position of the property and the conditions we're talking about, in either case, it has the exact same outcome, therefore, it's not pertinent.
Well, I see your point, because if it were a river, if this were perennial and is a riverfront area, the performance standards are different, but I think it would meet those performance standards as well. Is that what you were talking
Yeah,
about?
it's the same outcome, either way.
Okay.
It's irrelevant to the discussion.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's,
I mean, is there something I'm missing? Is there?
no,
if-
no,
if-
but, I looked at it pretty narrowly, but I think you have a good point. And certainly I'm relieved that you are saying we don't have to make this determination of perennial versus intermittent.
Yeah, we don't need to reach it. We don't-
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
pertinent.
Yeah.
All right, let it play out, because. Let it play out, because
Oh, I know why.
You know,
we've
You
got
know
a few
why,
other
too.
applications.
well, we could talk about
Up
it a
and down
long
the
time,
street.
because.
Right, same
Yeah.
street,
Yeah.
same
Same street,
watershed.
same watershed.
Okay. I think your point is that the porch area, which is the area where there's new construction, is within the 25-foot. If it were an intermittent stream and you were talking about only edge of bank and 25 feet, it's still in the 25 feet.
Yes.
So it's in that area anyway, so whether it's intermittent or perennial, it's in an area that you normally protect. And that's why that's one of the reasons we're here. The other reason is there's other work going on that's within the 100 feet, so.
But the act only
And that's
detects
not new.
continuous and intermittent streams, downgrading of wetlands. The Milton bylaw makes no such distinction and protects all streams.
Well, this does have wetlands above, on the other side of Hillside Street. It does have, behind Bob Tampkin's house and going up toward Chickatawba Road, there are wetlands. And there's wetlands at the source on the other side of Chickatawba
Right.
Road, between Tucker and Boyce Hills.
Do you want to, is this pertinent to you? Is this discussion pertinent to you?
It may be. I mean, if you don't care, but I'm not gonna accept any map that says that's an intermittent stream.
Okay.
Jurisdictionally, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But you're putting us in a very awkward position. We've got a very controversial project in the same street. And what we call streams,
I'm sorry. I agree with what you're saying, but whether or not it gets defined as, if we leave it undefined,
and we do that all the time.
I know, but that's what I'm saying, is
Absolutely,
that as a solution is acceptable. You don't need it to be a perennial, defined as a perennial stream
And
in
that's
this
what we should do.
context in
Right,
order to
but-
proceed.
Right, but I would fight vigorously
Yes.
in this drought period, notwithstanding this.
No, I totally agree with
that
everything
we-
you're saying.
We should not declare this to be intermittent.
I agree. But on that note,
But you have to
we're
withdraw-
asking
you have to withdraw the
remove any
plan.
reference to
Yeah,
intermittent
and
perennial
I
from any
wouldn't have a
document.
problem with that.
Okay.
I don't see any issue. I mean,
Call it a stream.
you're wrong.
Just call it a-
Yeah, but,
It was a time in a different setting,
Yeah,
Tom, you
I
would have
did.
said you're right.
yeah, okay.
So as long as you strike any reference to perennial or intermittent, and
Okay.
it's a stream,
Yes,
and it's within our jurisdiction.
Right.
And
Right.
it
that
all
is fine
applies.
from our point of view.
Okay.
Yes,
We'll do it
We-
that way.
okay.
We would prefer to proceed that way.
So proceeding right along.
Yes, I hope you will
Take a
go
deep
to the
breath.
link in my report and get a look at the kind of critters that live in these streams.
Okay.
Yes.
I tried that and it didn't open.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. I have been to a stream like this when there's water in it and caught the critters and photographed them, and they're really very interesting. At any rate, within your jurisdiction, because the proposed work is not only within 100 feet, but some of it's within 25, and I believe this orange line is the 25-foot buffer, or the non-disturb zone. The work is, the footprint of the carriage house will be increased because this porch is going to be built on the back. And work inside the carriage house, addition of a bathroom and bedroom, and the work that it's still not quite clear. I mean, we have a new plan, but the septic system will be redone to accommodate the flow from the bathroom in the carriage house. But it's not going to have a larger footprint, is that what I heard?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be within the existing footprint, and obviously,
Yeah.
everything's underground anyway, all temporary disturbance.
I'm sorry, we can't go there on Saturday to see this, or unless we shovel it out for you, because,
No, you're not.
If you're up for that.
yeah.
We'd be happy to shovel.
This
That would
carriage
help move
house,
things along.
this carriage house is on a slope, and it slopes down steeply and back. And the area where the porch will be built, on this part, the part closer to the stream, is an old stone foundation. I don't know what it supported at one time. Over on this side, it slopes down abruptly to the lawn. So this is the area within the non-disturb zone that will be disturbed. The foundation is also going to be rebuilt on this side and this side. So there will be, I would say, 150 square feet, including the stairs, this area that is now open to the weather and will be covered. And that's a natural area that's being lost to construction. But I wouldn't quite call it natural, because it's a foundation and grass and a forsythia bush. So the argument I'm making in the context of that application is, yes, this is an area where you do not permit disturbance, but I think you can, in this case, vary your prohibition simply because I don't see any prospect of an adverse impact to the public interest associated with this stream, provided the work is done carefully. In other words, provided sediments do not get carried down the slope into the stream. I would say that is the main concern that would occur to me to prevent an adverse impact. I really don't see adverse impacts from the loss of this area of lawn and stones. Yes, there might be some recharge here. As I proposed in my letter, that recharge can be transferred to a French drain or rain garden here. There will be digging up along this corner of the foundation will be rebuilt. That has to be dug up, and it will be a little bit demanding to set up a silt barrier along here because of the slopes here. I think a final plan should show that drainage mitigation for construction and a drainage mitigation after. We don't have that yet. We hope to work that out with you. But we are really asking for to do something that you don't normally allow because we are in the non-disturb zone. I think when you come to look at this site, I think you will see that the work is not going to disturb the natural qualities that protect the stream as they are today. But my flags were 18-inch flags, and they are not going to be visible anytime real soon.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
And I don't know the topography.
Yeah.
So if the porch is here, can you put the porch here just as an alternatives analysis? And I don't know what the elevation looks like, but just if you take it out of here and put it there.
It would be on the slope. I mean, it would have to support it higher on this end, but I would ask Milton. I mean,
There's extensive landscaping on the side of the carriage house now. The clients,
Yeah.
where you're
Yeah, you walk
suggesting
through here.
relocating the porch, and the clients would strongly prefer not to disturb that. Also, the view to the back of the carriage house is really the beautiful feature of the house. So if they're creating a sunroom, the logic of it would be significantly diminished by putting it on the side of the house
But this is all landscaped right here currently.
currently.
So they want to protect their lawn, but to take our non-disturb zone.
It's what it is it's a series of this sort of terraces. There's this fairly steep grade from in front of the garage to behind the garage or the barn. And so there's some stone terracing there. It's not, highly formal landscaping, but it's finished. The whole yard is disturbed in the sense that it's landscaped. And could be some of the plantings you might like to have taken out because some of them might be invasive species and things like that. But it's already landscaped. It's open. There's no large trees or anything like that. I would add to that answer, and correct me if I'm wrong, that because the owners are really, really interested in maintaining the architectural integrity of these two buildings, they probably would not want to put the porch on the side, understanding what your reasons and concerns might be for the location that they've proposed. So I think that they just don't want to put a porch on that side because it will change the architecture too much.
They don't
And
want to
it won't
change the
look
appearance
towards
of
the
the,
yard.
of either the house or the carriage house from the front elevation.
These are fairly small structures, and that's the problem with not being there and being able to see them as we talk, but
I'm
these
also
are small
not
Victorian.
100% sure we'd have the
There might not be
necessary
enough room.
separation between buildings
Yeah.
if we put the carriage house
It's-
on that side. It may end
This
up too
corner
close
here
to
is
the.
fairly close to this corner, but I think you could do it, looking at the drawing, but it would be very close to the house. and-
One thing I would add too is with those grades between the driveway and the back of that foundation, you're gonna end up probably bringing in some type of fill in there. So I'd say you would get a little bit more disturbance in that buffer as opposed to out the back where it's more level, where it's proposed now.
Are
Do you want
there-
us to give you a short narrative for that, though, as an alternative?
Yes,
Just, yeah,
please.
okay, we can do that.
As currently proposed,
Mm-hmm.
is the, I'll call it the back side of the porch, is that up on stilts?
What would the foundation of the porch
It would be a full foundation,
It's a full foundation for that porch? Oh,
yes. It would be a fieldstone foundation to match the rest of the foundation on the carriage house.
understood.
So as I understand what you just said, the entire site is, it's either plantings or it's lawn, right up to the stream.
When you get close to the stream, it's all rock, I think. What do you say, Tom?
Ellen
Nothing.
obviously never cut a tree down. So
That is
all,
Yeah.
all along here, you have a canopy of large trees, including snags, which are great habitat. They are white ash and sugar maple all the way down here. And between the stream and the house and the driveway, nobody's done much maintenance, so forsythia has spread through here. It's kind of leggy, it doesn't look very good. But as you come around here, suddenly there's a plunge pool. Somebody dammed the stream here by piling up rocks and made a nice little waterfall and pool where it actually goes over a ledge. This is bedrock here it's going over. Then it gets braided as it comes down here, as it runs over the rock. And this area here, I would say, from the back of the carriage house back to the stream margin, it's lawn all the way to the stream edge. And that's why I propose perhaps doing some plantings along the stream edge here to shade it.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's been lawn, but what a wonderful place to live, to have this bubbling stream right through your backyard coming right out of the Blue Hills. It's just beautiful.
Bubbling
Bubbling
perennial
perennial
stream.
No, bubbling perennial, not the same. But you will love this plunge pool and waterfall when we get to see it.
The architectural drawings that are in the set, that are at this size, aren't clear enough to evaluate.
Yeah, we
I-
brought.
They
some
have a
for you.
full-size set. if-
Okay.
And
if that would be helpful,
I
please.
have a better print that I'll give you now, but I didn't.
If you
that's
could
not-
actually send me those
prints
as a
were
PDF,
horrible.
that would be
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
If you could give Kathy the drawings.
So that we'll have them in the
I
office.
just
So,
want to.
so a PDF is fine, you don't need a hard
PDF is
copy?
fine, that's
Okay.
correct.
You described the project to me,
Yes. We,
on your plan,
pardon?
on your plans.
On the plans, yes.
Want to put them up on the board, or is that too much?
I can try, they're gonna try to curl back on me.
I'll help you.
Can I ask you, do you accept application documents normally
Change page.
electronically? Because plans are much easier to look at that way because you can enlarge them. Do you accept them that way?
Oh, Kathy's the boss.
You know,
some of us-
ones in the folder, just if someone comes in the public to read this, they want to take them out.
But do you want an applicant to send you an electronic set of the documents?
In addition to, that
Would
would be
you like
great.
that?
Yes, that would be
Yeah.
good.
Okay,
Because it's easier then for us to.
sure.
share.
I just didn't know. Okay.
Distribution becomes simple.
We never actually discussed that, whether, discussed it.
I understand that you need plans.
We
in
we
the
can get plans separately,
Some of
as long
us
as
are
we don't.
electronically challenged.
Yeah,
get
so
together for the
both
open
ways.
meeting law.
Can't shut off
But we
the
can
cell
have
phone.
a distribution of information.
No, but
I
individually.
understand.
all
I'm
of
that way.
that is submitted through email rather than
Well,
publicly packets.
then you'd have to print something at
Yeah,
the
then I'd
office.
have
You
to
don't want to
print
do
it,
that.
You don't want to do that, okay.
Yeah.
Well, do you want these
Stealing
plans
right
that they're
tonight,
providing as drawings? I don't, doesn't make a difference to
Whatever
me.
it is.
I'll print them whatever size I want, but
Huh?
to you.
See, I eventually want them in hard copy.
I
So
think
he
we're
needs
going to
hard copy.
provide a copy for the office, one copy, and we will send you the PDF so that you can look at them if you want to on your computer and enlarge them right on the screen, which sometimes is a nice way to look at them.
Or do you
Send me
want
a
to print a
hard copy
copy
too,
for your
please.
file,
I
for your
want,
use?
I want a printed copy, but I can get that from Kathy.
But, okay.
Okay, can we tell me what we're doing?
Yes, so right now we have a completely unfinished structure. So the overall idea is to finish it, turn it into living space. Modifications to the structure will be a shed dormer across the back to gain some headroom on the inside, and then this proposed porch all soft. So this is the rear elevation that's shown.
And what is the size of the porch?
It's roughly 8 by 13.
Okay,
And we will give you the exact dimensions.
okay.
But that proposed porch has a full foundation under it.
That's the proposal, yes.
Walkable foundation, so you can stand up underneath it?
That hasn't been determined.
You're showing it
the-
as stone. Is it stone to match the rest of the carriage house?
Yeah, so in practice, it'll be probably poured concrete with a field stone veneer. The elevation here, the grade here is quite high, so there wouldn't be any headroom there. I think we simply haven't decided what,
But programmatically,
yes, sir.
what you're describing to me is, it's a foundation,
Yes,
but there's not a requirement that you walk through the foundation.
correct.
You're not using the foundation.
We're not planning to use it for storage. We're gonna
So there's
maintain
no
the space
real
under the.
reason why we need a 8-foot-high concrete foundation. We could build it on piers and decrease the amount of disturbance of the no-build zone.
And you mentioned that
Right, John?
the left-hand wall in this drawing that we can't see is an existing wall. Are you planning on reusing that existing wall, or you're planning on tearing that down?
You mean under the proposed porch?
Yes. The left-hand wall, as I understand it in this drawing,
There's no existing wall. There's some sort of built-up surface with the remnants of some brickwork.
so it's,
I'm not sure that there's a wall.
you don't think there's anything?
I don't think there's anything there, yeah. There's currently a door out of the back of the garage right there.
Yeah.
So there's a little landing space that you can step out to.
Yeah.
I don't think there was ever a structure there.
Oh, you don't? Okay, that's what.
I don't believe so, yeah. I think it was probably built up earth with some brick,
Just to make a landing.
just to make a landing pad, yeah. There's no suggestion that there was any kind of structure there before. So this is front elevation. The only real visible change is the sliding barn door currently is running on a track inside the building. We're going to move it to the outside of the building. We're going to be replacing windows and doors to meet current energy codes, but maintaining the appearance.
So the sliding glass, the sliding barn door will be insulated?
That won't be, because that's only giving access to the garage portion, which will be an unconditioned part of the building. So the conditioned envelope will be
Okay.
to the side of the left half of the first floor and then the entire second floor. And we're moving the garage door to the outside to make it easier to condition the conditioned parts.
So underneath the garage door, is there a full foundation under that? Is this whole garage is gonna have a new foundation, or just with the porches?
Right now, there is a foundation, existing foundation on the front. There's an existing foundation on the right side. There is a foundation halfway down on the left side. It ends about here. There are there's a stone pier here, there's a stone pier here, and there's currently no foundation under the back. There are, again, a couple of stone piers. So the project would involve filling in this part of the foundation on the right side of the building and building new foundation at the back of the building where there is none now. Depending on whether we build the porch or not, that the porch may or may not be part of that foundation structure. And how much detail do you want me to go into about the interior work?
No, not the interior. I'm more concerned about the foundation and whether we can bifurcate the concrete foundation from the field stone, or whether we can rebuild the piers, so we're doing less disturbance in a non-disturbed area.
The existing
You follow me?
piers are spectacularly structurally inadequate. They're tapered stone piers ending in a rock about this big, and the structural engineer who visited the site was afraid to go underneath. So there's a glaring structural inadequacy right now.
Yeah, but when you go do your work, it's
Yes.
whether we can do something that has less of an impact on the environment than putting
The
an
building code requires a continuous foundation under living space. So I don't think we would be
I
permitted.
don't think so.
You're talking
You
about
wouldn't have
porch
half the
now or the
building-
main?
You wouldn't have half the buildings in Marshfield if that statement were true. Because buildings in Marshfield and other coastal locations are built upon piers. Right?
Point?
That is in the flood zone, but this is outside of the flood zone, is Zone A.
I think when there isn't a flood consideration,
it's a
a
velocity
continuous
zone.
foundation is required.
Okay, we'll check it.
Certainly, the porch I don't think would require, I don't think that's intended to be conditioned space, so that the continuous foundation around the porch was an aesthetic choice on the part of the owners. I think that could be on piers.
I would say myself that the area where the porch is now going doesn't really contribute to the public interest associated with the stream, as far as I can tell, because there's no real connection. Doesn't drain toward it, it's either ledge or lawn. So it's true that would be covered up, but I don't really see how it harms the interest if it is. Although it does impinge on the no disturb zone.
But does that area under the porch now contribute to an active buffer if it's underneath the porch and covered like that? I mean, does it provide any food cover or any type of vegetation that really enhances that buffer area? I mean, I think the answer on that's kind of a no, right off the top. You know, you're not gonna get
That was my point.
right.
So what other information can I give
That's
you?
it?
Actually, could you flip to could you flip to the next page where it shows the proposed plan?
Yes.
So when we were talking about moving the porch to the left-hand side,
Yes.
and I understand the comments relative to that, both in terms of the aesthetics of maintaining what it looks like now,
Yes.
as well as the plantings that are currently there, and the fact
Yes.
that it's currently lawn behind.
Yes.
In the context of trying to minimize the excavation, any work that would be done, and minimize or maximize the dimension from any work to be done to the stream,
Yes.
is there an option to slide that porch as far to the left as possible that would minimize the excavation that's gonna have to occur along the right-hand edge? Therefore, at that point, you're still behind the house, let's move it to the left.
So you're saying sliding it
Yeah,
all the
slide
way-
it as far to the left, or, rather than 8 or 10, whatever it is now.
Right.
Move it that way, which means we're doing less excavation on this side, maybe leave the landing that you have in place, and then the only thing you would have visible would be the staircase. I would argue that that's negligible in the scheme of things.
Right.
And the only reason I'm saying that is to maximize the distance between the new construction and the stream, which is on the right-hand side.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's certainly something that I could discuss with the owners, yeah.
That would be good. Because I think that that plays into the idea of maintaining the aesthetics, but still trying to maximize the distance that we
And it's
can.
something that we often do for applicants. We often just ask them to move a portion of the building as far away from the residential area as possible, so.
Right.
Well, that's
Exactly what
true,
we
but,
do quite a bit.
you know, I have to, can you imagine having this discussion on 390 Brook Road? 0 Brook Road, that became 390. I mean, we have the reason I asked for the alternatives analysis in the first place is that we try to be uniform in our
Yes.
application.
Yes.
So that, you know, that that we maintain our credibility. And we've taken out our little tape measure and said that's 25 feet and don't cross the line. Right, Craig?
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that we're applying the same standards to all applications.
I think we are.
So you're saying don't cross the line, therefore this isn't a viable strategy? What they've proposed is not viable because there is an option to put it on the left-hand side.
Well, I'd like to, yes,
Okay, so you, yeah.
right. I mean, I'd like to see, and saving the lawn doesn't move me very much. But it might be because of elevations, there might be something, I need to see it.
Right.
But please, engage in a full alternatives analysis, because, you know, our precedent is very important to us, because we
Right.
don't want some other applicant to come in and say, well, listen, you allowed it over there, so why don't you allow it? You didn't allow it on Brook Road, so why do you allow it on Hillside Street?
Okay, would you be, in the idea of putting it where they've proposed, or roughly in that area, understanding that the rest of the area between the back of the property and the stream is currently lawn, if we say that that 25-foot zone is gonna go back to undisturbed natural.
There are always, you know, compromises to be made.
I know,
And
but I'm
I
saying
understand that. I'd have to see it.
Okay.
I couldn't make that judgment without seeing it. But elevation is one of the things that I'm motivated with. If it-
Elevation. What do you
Well,
mean?
it's on a slope.
Yep.
And saving the lawn doesn't really
Yeah.
affect me very much.
Right.
So I'm looking at it and saying, why can't you put it on the left? And I haven't heard a good reason yet. I heard what you said.
Right.
But I'd like to be able to see it,
I
to see if it, you know, if it sort of resonates, because I'm just concerned with precedential value.
Right, right. So do you want drawings as well as a narrative?
I'd just like you to consider and talk to the owner and ask for some consideration of taking it out of the 25-foot zone.
Okay.
I mean, I see that, you know, part of the building's there, but that's long grandfathered by a
Right.
century or two.
Right.
I understand that. But I'm just concerned with our uniform application of the bylaw.
Yes.
So I just ask them to be open. And you've heard some open comments, and I will commit to you to being open myself. But I just have a concern with uniformity.
That's right. And just from my information, what jurisdiction do you have over the repairs to the existing foundation that will occur in that 25-foot zone?
All.
Yeah, I mean, all repairs to be done to the foundation in that 25-foot zone or not are in our jurisdiction. Pretty much the entire site is in the jurisdiction.
I understand, but what sorts of conditions?
It's gonna be control. It's gonna be control of sediment control and the amount of excavation that you do and
But not
and
the design
impact.
of the
So
construction
not an
itself.
existential control. You won't tell us not to build the back foundation wall, for example. Is that
I'm not inclined to lean that way, but
I guess my question
Don
is
might
that
be.
within the committee's
You mean to
jurisdiction?
support the existing building?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, that makes it, it's the same footprint, but you're asking us to expand the footprint.
No, but aside from that question, what input will you give over the work to repair the existing foundation?
well, we want to know, the one thing that's not clear on the drawings that we've been provided before is the amount of foundation work that, you've described it very well now, but on the drawings that were provided in the submission, it was not clear. The drawings weren't legible. They were.
I understand.
So providing us a drawing that shows the extent of the work and a notes, a description that says what needs to be done on the different zones so that we can look at it and say, this is going to be a significant amount of work, this is going to require an excavation that's going to go down 8 feet, and therefore is gonna have a larger amount of an impact adjacent to that.
Right.
Though, we do wanna review it to that level so that
Right.
we know, and then we can talk about what the sediment control or other controls that might need to be installed in order to
I
allow
understand.
that to happen.
I understand.
Yeah. So I think that, is that?
Yes.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
yeah.
Can I ask a hypothetical question, being not the environmental analyst here? So in this situation, I understand the 25-foot zone normally is a don't touch. You don't do anything there. If you allow an analysis, then in this case, when you see the site, what you will see is that the topography is that the stream is up higher and the site slopes down towards the barn and also towards the back. So, which is why you're being told that there isn't really any impact potentially on the edge of bank or the stream, even in the work as it's being done, and once it's complete. Number one, because that area is already disturbed, because it's been developed as a lawn, as a back lawn, and it's the back of the barn, and it had a pavement area and so forth. And also because the water flow isn't towards the stream from this site, it's the other way around. I mean, the stream comes down towards the barn, and then the whole area slopes in back of the barn. You're going to have to see the site to understand it, and we're going to give you the alternatives analysis, because I understand why you require that, and whatever you decide, you'll decide. But it is going to be important, I think, to see the site, and it may be a while before you're able to really see what it looks like, because I saw it when it was bare, and I was struck by the topography of the site as being a distinctive feature that I don't know to what extent you can really even take that into account once you have that 25-foot zone that you're concerned with.
Well, aesthetics is one of the things that we have to consider under the Milton bylaw.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but also, based on what you just said, what that's called is the tributary area. So the tributary area is the amount of is the area that water flows from into the stream, or into any tributary areas. Water flows downhill, and therefore what's downhill is the tributary area feeds the downhill slope.
Yeah.
That's not the only issue.
Yeah.
The other, another issue is the fact that anything that's growing within that 25-foot non-disturbance zone is basically absorbing moisture from the ground around the stream and therefore drawing water off of the stream. If you were to cut down all of the plantings within that 25-foot zone for the entire length of the stream, you would significantly increase the flow of water and therefore cause flooding downstream.
Oh, I
So,
see that.
so there are other things that are coming into play in terms of let's not disturb this zone. The fact that this is, from my perspective, the fact that this is currently lawn, if we can do something that was going to actively increase the plantings that are there for the environment, for the environment, for the habitat, but also put plantings in there that are indigenous and kind of are going to improve the functioning of that stream and the ability to hold the water and the ability not to erode and all those kinds of things. And now John talked about the Brook Road where we drew a line and said no. In that situation, from my perspective, that was an existing condition that there was no reason to encroach on. It was fully established, and it was different than this. We're talking about a lawn that goes up to the stream, and if we can actually take part of that lawn area back and kind of bring it back to what a natural habitat or a natural state, I would say that that's an improvement, and from my perspective, may even be enough of an improvement to justify what they're proposing.
It may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But tonight, remember.
Maybe not.
Tonight, we issued a denial
Yeah.
of a project based upon incursion into the 25-foot. We denied the project. I'm just trying to stay uniform.
Okay.
The project was denied here tonight.
Was
Yes.
that,
Remember?
Yes.
Okay.
if I may, was that area on the 25 that was already disturbed, or was that
No,
untouched
it's-
25?
The whole place is untouched.
Right, so I mean,
This
that's,
is
I guess,
711
what you're alluding to,
Randolph
really, you've
Avenue.
got area of disturbance already, and if you can make some sort of buffer mitigation or improvements right on the same
And
lot.
I understand that, it's a valid point.
But it's an argument.
And
Right,
I'm
yes,
not,
right.
I'm
That's
not
part of the alternatives,
closing that
right.
argument off.
And I
I'm
agree,
open.
I agree with going the way that you've indicated or requested, but I keep in the back of my mind, if I'm reading this correctly, that 50% of the existing carriage house is already within the buffer zone.
That's correct.
So this is a sort of an extraordinary situation. It's not as if.
And it's been there a long time, I get it.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That helped, actually, well, helps educate me anyway, I'm sure. I think everyone else knows more than me, so thank you.
I think it's going to be beautiful.
Any other,
I do.
any other questions from commissioners?
I have questions on the septic system, but I think, just because we haven't had drawings.
Yes.
And I understand what you said, but if you want to go through it, and then I.
Yeah, yes, a little quickly. I know we've been up here for a long time, so we'll talk. As you know, we have a Title V compliant system on the site now. It's a 3-bedroom house. The owners are looking to upgrade that by 1 bedroom, so we now have a 4-bedroom system. The system is sized only for 3 bedrooms, so we have to increase the design capacity of that system. Currently, it's a Title V stone and pipe system. It's roughly, now if I had it right here, it's 30 by 20 stone and pipe bed that's out there now that was put in place back in 97, 98, somewhere around there. What we're looking to do now is using the current technology, they have something out there called a Presby system. It's an approved for general use by the DEP, by all boards of health. And what this allows is that there's an increased flow to these systems, but with a smaller footprint. And it's just something that the technology has changed over the last 10, 15 years. These have been approved. And what this is, it's kind of hard to tell from here, but it's a pipe, and it has almost like a plastic medium around it. It's almost like an area where the bacteria can now grow around this pipe. And instead of having before the sand and stone system where the bacteria mat grew in that sand itself and the stone, it happens around this pipe. And the effluent that comes out is now considered much cleaner out of this type of technology. And Presby's claim to fame is he tries to drink a glass of water on the other end of this thing right here, and I wouldn't go that far, but it is clean enough now where the DEP allows a system using this to be within 2 feet of the groundwater as opposed to 4 feet, which is standard under Title V. So they do believe there is this inherent cleanliness to this water that comes out here, or at least less of a.
We're good.
There is less of a biological oxygen demand on it, so it's a cleaner type effluent. That may be useful to you folks considering that you're only about 30 feet away from this resource area, so that's something to consider. Beyond that, like I said, the footprint is going to be smaller. It's all temporary disturbance because we're digging out the area that's there now, putting it back as it is today. There's no functioning buffer on top, as you know, there's driveway, and we'll show that on the next drawing. But the only thing you have here is gravel driveway and stone underneath. This would be pulled up, put back just as it is. Again, the temporary disturbance would be a small 2-inch force main only, PVC. Shallow trench, covered about exactly how it was there. There's a mixture of lawn and driveway at that point there. And as we know, the 25-foot here, we'd make sure the erosion control is here, so any type of excavation, we'd have controls over that as well. So it's really get it in, get out real quick, put the erosion control up, and put it right back the way you see it today as far as the septic goes. And you'll never know that was changed.
I may have missed this. How far below the surface of the driveway?
It ends up being about 2 feet, I'll say, to the top, yeah.
That's, there's no crushing issue?
No, it's actually designed for H20 loading.
It is.
You can do that, yes, with that type of distance down to it, yeah. It is, actually, so we called out for them, they are H20 designed.
So when you do the excavation to set this unit, or these units, bless you, the intent is to remove all of the
All the stone,
saturated,
all the pipe, everything
saturated material that's there, so you're down to fresh dirt.
Right.
And then you come in, bring it up to your new level, and then you put this unit
Yeah,
in.
we want to get down to what they call the parent soil.
Yep,
We take
perfect.
all that stone out of there, and we come right back with a little bit of what they call Presby sand, which is really just Title V sand,
Yep.
and back up with a system, new construction. So we get down to the apparent soil, scarify that, make sure there's obviously nice bottom, and then bring it back up.
How old is the existing system?
It's only said, I think it was 97 it was put in.
I'd say 98. It was, the house was sold 98, 99, needed a new
Okay.
septic system to
So
be
in
sold.
that, I saw the design, maybe the design was 97 and the as-built was 99, so it's not that old.
But you have to upgrade it anyhow, so replacing it for future
And
is
the
not.
system
Yeah.
did get some relief under the Title V requirements as far as setbacks to buildings and property lines. And that's one of the reasons we had to go to the Board of Health to see if we can still work with those underlying reliefs that was granted prior, so.
So, in looking at how you drew the existing footprint,
Mhm.
can we locate the new installation as far to the left
Mhm.
away from the stream as possible? Or is
Yeah.
there, well,
Yeah,
that's
see,
not how
like-
you drew your sketch, though.
Well, see, right now, this dimension right here is 17,
Yep.
okay? The controlling dimension, or real the public safety dimension that Title V calls for is 20 feet away from a building foundation to the septic system.
Okay.
It was initially installed at 12 feet.
Right.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
So we're at 17. We tried to make sure we're not going any further this way for you folks, but we are still less than that required distance for septic area to foundation of a house. And that's one of the relief that was granted and that we'd be looking to try to keep.
Okay.
We do get the 20 from here to here now, but we don't have it from there to there.
So the last question I had was, you talked about the Presby system having a plastic filter around the entire width. Doesn't the growth of the algae or whatever it is only occur in the saturated areas? So is the system fully loaded? Or how does it actually have a lower amount of area of exposure?
Over time, it builds up, because you will get ponding in that pipe. And that is the idea, what they call is the biomat.
Yeah.
And typically, you have it underneath in your stone and your sand underneath a stone pipe
But it needs to
system.
be wet to be growing, right?
After a while, it can dry as long as it gets dosed at a certain period of time, yes. It does want to keep going. Any biomat will need that. It needs a dosing over time.
But if it's a round pipe, are you actually ever gonna get to the top of the pipe, and is it
You may
really only
not.
the
It
bottom of
depends
the
what the
pipe?
loading is, but it's designed to, as long as the areas that typically get wet are wet within a certain period of time, that will grow. And it has been tested with the step system. They have, approved this for general use, so they do say that over time, that biomat will grow to either be it all around the pipe or to a certain point, depending on how much flow it gets. This is designed for 440 gallons per day. Will it ever get that? Who knows? Probably not. They're over-designed, so.
So if it ever gets overloaded, it just steps it up and you
Yeah,
end up with
it would
more?
go up, it would still leach out, because at that point, if it got overloaded, you wouldn't have a biomat formed
Right.
up there. So you would leach out into the sand and it would allow it to percolate. If it kept getting to that point, then the biomat would form around the whole pipe, which is fine.
Sorry, one more question.
Mhm.
Are there any cesspools or any other septic components on the site other than the existing components? And I'm just thinking, if there are, we want to make sure they're removed and filled.
There was a failed cesspool here to begin with. That's what predicated this whole Title V system.
Okay.
So that has happened, been removed, and the Title V system went in.
perfect.
So now we have septic tank, D-box, field, and that's all.
And there's
that
nothing
remains.
else on the site?
No.
Septic or any
No.
cesspool or anything? Perfect.
Any wells?
Not that I know of on this site, we'd have to check as far as neighboring property, if there's any within that 200-foot radius that you may be concerned about, but as far as on this site, no.
Have you done any percolation tests?
I have not myself. The Board of Health, there was witness percolations tests done back in '97, and those are on file with the Board of Health, and we have used those. Obviously, the underlying parent material hasn't changed,
Right.
so that's what the design is based on, so. And we have test pits done here, and test pits out back. Test pits out back, the water table's very high. The difference in grade you can see here, this is the area that they needed to have the septic.
And you're still above your 2 feet?
We're still 4 feet. We're not trying to take credit for that
Okay,
2 feet.
yeah.
That's just, if you needed that and you wanted to do it without the field reduction size, you could go the 4 foot,
Yeah.
2-foot separation.
Oh, but you're actually down.
Oh, we're up to 4 feet. We're at the required separation distance. We're not asking for that 2 foot, but saying
Good.
what they
Because
say.
all I could think of was a fire truck or a oil delivery truck going in.
What they're just saying that the effluent coming out is cleaner, and being within 30 feet of the bank of this resource area, it's something that at least you folks can hang your hat on and say it's better than what's there today. So.
Any questions from abutters, neighbors, friends, relatives? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name's Darren Grady. I'm from Grady Consulting.
Yes, sir.
We have
Oh.
a project.
Mike?
Could you come forward? They can't hear you on the, sorry.
name's Darren Grady. I'm with Grady Consulting. I'm actually here for 375 Hillside Street. But I've come to the same interpretation. This stream is actually intermittent, and the basis of my statement is actually the USGS quad maps. The symbology on the quad map, there's a light blue line that matches the symbology that's in the legend for the USGS maps that says it's intermittent. That's the sole basis of my interpretation, and my wetland consultant also backs that up and has the same interpretation. I believe this is intermittent.
All right, you're entitled to prove it. At 375, you can prove it on this one too. I have personally represented the commission before the DEP to fight that, and I'll do it again.
Okay.
If you come in and you have, show it to me dry, show me the date, out of a drought period. We are now in a drought period. So
Okay.
your burden of proof is going to take you a while. But until you come in and prove it, it's not intermittent.
But did you say that your basis was the USGS quad map?
I've been there. I've been in Ellen Anderson's house. I know the stream. I've been across the street. I know that's the headwaters. We've had testimony here within the last month about finding brook trout in the headwaters of the Pine Tree Brook. We've got a lot of evidence gathered over 23 years of that area, that stream, that watershed. And I'm prepared to listen to whatever you can provide for us for proof. But until you do, that's not an intermittent stream.
Then.
And I would just say that we're not right now arguing that point right now. So
Yes,
if that could be
right.
tabled for your guys' discussion,
Yes.
that'd be
Sure.
appreciated. But we know it's inconsequential to what we have. We're either way
Sure.
inside your area
Correct.
of
That's right.
no-go. So.
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt
Sure,
your
no, it's
meeting.
okay.
I just overheard you use the USGS quad as a meaning that it was an interpretation that it was intermittent, and I came up with a different interpretation of that USGS, and that's all I want to bring to the table. I don't mean to bring in a whole study that shows, but
You're entitled to do it.
okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? We need when do you suggest would be an appropriate time to come out and visit?
I think the snow has to be out of the ground and make it worthwhile.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to see anything unless there's almost no snow.
Right, because it's all long.
And so we're going to have to watch the conditions on the site and notify Kathy, and maybe then we can schedule something.
Continuous to May 1st, the May hearing.
Well, no, why don't you?
I hope it won't be that
Why don't
late.
you just, we don't want to lose track of it. We need their assent
No.
to continue it.
Yeah.
So why don't we just continue it month to month, and then you stay in touch with Kathy, and then,
Pull the trigger.
And we do need revised plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yes,
need
right.
a revised
Sorry about the
NOI.
spec of the septic system, we don't really have anything on that at this point.
correct.
We don't have an approved plan, even an approved concept plan yet for the septic. We have to give that to you officially when it's been approved by the Board of Health as a concept plan. And then the detailed plan, they're probably going to have a peer review done of that because there's nobody who can review it. So that'll take a little time. But on the NOI, I just need your advice as to, you file an amendment, it's amended description. There's a description of the septic system that's not in here right now. So do you redo the whole NOI, or is there some other way that you do an amendment?
I think you need another NOI.
So
because
just
if it
refile
were
it.
just a change in the dimensions of the porch,
Sure.
that would be a minor one, and you would not be required. But the septic system is it's a different issue.
Sure.
And
I mean, I just want to know what we're supposed to do. So we'll just fill out the form over again,
Right.
but put in the proper description with the septic system and make sure that we know what the dimensions are going to, I guess,
So you have to
yeah.
re-notify and.
Do you want us to do it as a separate NOI or?
You can do it on the same one, or whatever's most
I don't
convenient
think
for
they
you.
can because the DEP number has already been issued to this project.
Yeah, we can do it as a separate.
Not to the septic tank.
Well, you have to go back and
So
notify.
I think you
Well,
have to refile.
it's 5
the
people.
notice of intent
It's not a big
For
notice.
the septic system alone.
It costs
Or
about
you could
$150.
refile for both at the same time. I don't think it matters. But I agree with what you're saying, Kathy, because once the DEP number issues, that's limited, and this would be a significant alteration.
Yeah, so we'll refile the NOI form, we'll renotice everybody, we'll describe everything again, but we'll include the septic system, that's how you want to do it, or do you,
Or would you prefer just a separate NOI freestanding for the septic system?
I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter to me. Kathy, it might matter to you or somebody else.
The difference is, most likely the septic system could be voted on quicker because of the weather than the.
So maybe we should
So
do it
there's a
separate.
benefit to having that be freestanding.
I
Potentially,
think so, don't
yeah.
you think? And then they can start doing the
And then-
septic system
Right.
plan prior to
Well, the only
us
thing is that the
site.
septic system design is based upon the increased flow with the additional bedroom. It's measured by bedroom, isn't it? Not
That's
bathroom.
correct.
Yeah.
Bedroom, yeah.
So that presumes that the first NOI would be allowed. Probably will be, but.
Well, but if they decide,
Well-
if they say that they're gonna add 2 bedrooms or
One.
one bedroom, and we make contingent on them 1 bedroom, whether or not that other one goes ahead is irrelevant, they can still upgrade the septic system.
Yeah, exactly. There's
So-
nothing
Yeah, that's
that
Porch
true.
has no
has to
bearing on the
happen.
septic system.
Yeah, porch has no bearing.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And your committee can't cancel the whole project, aside, except for the porch. The porch is the only part that's existentially vulnerable, is that correct?
As a matter of practical judgment, I think you're correct.
Thank you.
All right, but technically, I mean.
It's all
within
within
our
jurisdiction.
jurisdiction.
It is, yeah.
But I
And
don't think
one
you have
last
to worry about it.
question, the square footage issue. If it is inaccurate in here in any way, in the NOI, the description in the NOI, how do you amend, or can you amend such
You
an
can
inaccuracy?
amend. If it's a significant amendment, then you have to file a new NOI. If we deem it to be insignificant, it's just an amendment
But
or a
with that-
revision.
With that, you can just submit a revised plan.
Right,
Showing the change.
the revised drawings that we're gonna get should have the right sizes on them.
And you can
I
spell it
agree.
out in your order of conditions, the size that's being permitted for anyway.
Yes, it will be, because when we approve,
Yeah,
Right.
when we issue the order conditions, we base it upon a particular approved plan.
Right, so you can name off in there what the dimension is.
Correct.
So,
and by the drawing, you mean the site plan that shows the dimensions. So you've already asked for a site plan with a driveway, so if we need to correct the dimensions in any way on this drawing, we can do that.
Right.
Is that right?
I believe so, yeah. could be.
Okay, so, thank you. Okay. I think we have our marching
Can I
orders.
make a comment?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about the impact to the non-disturbance zone. And you were talking about doing a full foundation.
On the porch.
On the porch.
Yes.
Right, repairs to the existing foundation, and that's its own issue.
Yes.
Repairs to the porch. From my perspective, coming in with piers, even if they were clad in fieldstone,
Yep.
would be less of an impact than a full foundation, and therefore more acceptable, from my perspective.
So you're
So-
suggesting that we include that in the
I
narrative?
think, I'm asking you to discuss that with your client, because that would be a reduction in the impact, and therefore more acceptable, from my perspective.
Great.
And and aesthetically, an element like that with stone piers would be in character with what you've been describing.
Great.
So, from my perspective, it's
understood.
just an idea.
Thank you for that.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you very
All right,
much.
thanks for your time.
So are we continue to?
Oh, yeah, your next meeting, which is March 10th. It'll be spring by then.
Promise?
You saw that groundhog bite?
There will be water in it.
You'll have a boat in there.
We'll test the banks, right?
Next on the agenda, number 6, notice of intent, 375 Hillside Street.
Nice you would, Tom.
Thanks.
See, we even read it, Tom.
I worked it, I wrote it, had to put one word after another.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's a good writer.
We all understand that there is a number of other projects in that whole general area. Ford Ranch Road?
Yes.
2 or 3 on Ford Range Road.
No, I don't know which, about 2 or 3.
Ford Range Road.
Yeah.
There are 2 or 3 more projects coming in to us that all involve that quote intermittent stream issue, that all flow down from the hill.
Oh, I know. I know.
But the intermittent stream issue only affects jurisdiction, doesn't affect the setback requirement.
Oh, you're 100% right. And-
So why is it relevant?
It's not. In most of the cases, it's not. And actually, in the original, remember the driveway to Millville?
Yeah.
It's, what was it, 153 to 157 Hillside?
Yeah, it's on the other side, yeah.
That narrow driveway. It became an issue there, but and that was when Denise White, I think, was the botanist that came in. And we were arguing about it. She said, it doesn't matter because we can do it without using 200 to 100, it doesn't matter. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Long enough without talking about things that are
Okay.
Who really brought up the issue.
So, is Jerry free? Did he sell the house? Has the house been bought?
Yes, actually, it did change it did
Oh, good.
change ownership. That was
Good.
one of the things they modified the plan on.
Okay.
I already had a plan. It was January 29th. What you just handed out is January 29th.
Is there a revision date, like right above it in the box?
It's revision.
Oh, up here,
Oh,
I'm
up
sorry.
here, yeah,
Okay,
right
sorry,
here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did the same thing.
All right, thank you. Would you introduce yourself and
Oh,
proceed, please?
Sure. My name is Darren Grady from Grady Consulting. I'm here on behalf of Peter and Patty Droof. Do you want me to go right through the project for you?
Sure, please.
The project's at 375 Hillside Street. Currently existing, there's a house in the front of the property here. There's a barn slash garage in the rear of the property here.
And this is the house right next door to what we were just discussing.
Yes, you can see the property right there.
All right. There's an existing driveway that accesses the garage and barn both on the front and around to the side here. Wetlands was delineated by John Zimmer, and it was December 22nd. Again, there was no snow on the ground at that point. We just beat it. He flagged an intimate. I understand.
A street.
Yeah, he flagged a street. Thank you. Shown here on the left, and also he flagged a BVW in the back here as well. Our project is to put an addition onto the existing house in the front. My client would like to access the garage by adding a door to the front of the garage, and I'm showing a proposed landing for that door. They would like to have a hardscape patio and hot tub in the back of the garage and barn, and mudroom included with the addition. As part of these improvements, they'll need to move the driveway. And I'm showing the driveway here in with a circular ending to it. There'll be a couple trees that need to be removed. One in the place of where the addition is, one's in front of the house, and there's another one near the driveway. There'll be a little bit more tree removal shown over in the side of the driveway, but there's no significant trees such as what I've shown as single trees out in front.
What do you mean by significant? By number of trees or type?
Size.
Size.
What do you consider caliper significant?
These ones I've shown as 24. This one I believe was like a 6 or 12, something that would stand out on its own. We went right along the tree line in here, and there was nothing that we could really put the pole on that was significant and what we call out different. Okay. In red here, we're showing aluminum work and silt sack. Silt sack prevent sediment from going to the stream. The silt sack is along the 25-foot no disturb zone, with the exception of the existing driveway. Although there's no work being proposed where that existing driveway is, they will use that as access to the back as far as for construction. They don't, they can use the other side as well, but we proposed that there because I believe they will be accessing it.
Afterwards, is that going to be converted to lawn?
It's not in, that's not, my clients don't want that at this time.
It's currently gravel, or?
It's currently gravel, yeah. The existing driveway is currently gravel, and they'd like to put a turf block paver system in there. They want to keep it, they don't want pavement. The turf block system is a system that uses pavers intermittently with grass. There's 12-inch base to it that will be able to handle some stormwater, although I haven't done any calculations for stormwater.
What is their aversion to, what is their aversion to grass?
That was just what that's what they desired, actually.
No, they desired grass?
Yeah.
Can I recommend a product?
Sure.
Grass Pave.
Okay.
Look at the product called Grass Pave. It's a plastic mesh that you put sand in, and then you grow grass on the top, and it's actually structurally loaded for fire truck access and all the rest of it.
Okay.
Great product. Grass Pave. And it has no pavement at all. It's a mesh, a honeycomb kind of mesh that basically uses sand to fill the voids and then transfers the load to a gravel bed, and the grass actually grows in the sand.
That was what they
Oh, there you go.
intent
Yep.
was.
Yep. Yeah.
How does it work with snow blower?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Mike's doesn't
That's
work.
attractive. That is nice.
It's not bad.
that-
Yeah,
that was-
you see a
that-
lot of this now.
Yeah, we looked up a bunch of different systems, and we went with the turf block on this one.
Yeah.
I've seen the grass pave though.
Yeah.
That's very nice as well.
But you don't get the defined path like that, but it's looks like all lawn.
Right.
Different look.
Let's see. I'm not sure if I mentioned the hot tub and the patio back here.
Yes.
But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, I know this property, and I would need to know exactly what kind of trees are being removed, because I know that Jerry had some very nice, very tall, kind of special types of trees there. I don't recall exactly what, but any tree that you're going to remove that's more than, I would say, 8 inches in diameter, I'd want to know exactly what that tree is before I'd agree to.
Can we
Had
just,
some nice trees there.
can we ask them to flag any
Yes.
tree that they
So
propose
when
to
we go-
remove?
Yes.
So that we can review it when we're on site?
Okay, so what
Just,
species,
tie a
exactly,
ribbon or something
species
around it?
of trees, yeah.
Can we get a survey too, with the
Yes.
species and the size?
And secondly, on the stream itself, with all respect, there's been for many years a pile of things. Wood, chips, right along here that have been accumulated. So that needs to be looked at. Not quite compost, more
Landscape debris?
branches, you know,
Cleaned up and removed?
cleaned up and removed. At least they need to be addressed. You need to consider what's there to let us know more specifically what's there. It's right here, right along by the stream, almost into the stream, all along here.
So it is along the
Yeah,
whole
right
stream,
along.
or is it?
I'd say from just in front of the barn
Okay.
here, all the way along here. You need to check that out and see what exactly has been accumulated. It may be just fine, but it needs to be looked at. And then just one other third point. There's naturalized in the back of this house, the Native American poppy. It's that yellow poppy. It's called a celandine, celandine, celandine poppy. There aren't many places where that's naturalized, and it's back here. It's mostly in the wetlands because they like it wet. So I just want you to be aware of it, because I'll be looking at that in terms of the impact from this, particularly the hot tub.
Just that they don't destroy it doing the construction.
Destroy it, it's quite nice, and it's very rare.
Why is there a tree removal over on, to the right of the existing home?
I kind of asked the same question. This is something my client asked me to put on the plan. I didn't see a lot of any trees over there really on their property line, so I advised them to make sure they get it staked before they remove anything. But it's in your jurisdiction, so I wanted to make sure it was included in the notice.
But you don't know why they want,
It
you
was
don't know
one
what
of
it
the-
is or anything.
No, it was one of their requests.
Can you make sure that gets flagged when, for the, or tagged in some way that we can
Sure.
discuss it more in a second?
What about the existing stone wall? And I understand there's a difference between a stone wall on a street with all the National Historic Register and all that, and a stone wall on the property. But can you, I don't know the answer. When do you have to go to the Historical Commission, and when do you not? Is it property line?
As far as do you mean?
Do you know?
It's a scenic road issue.
Scenic
Okay,
road?
that's
But Hillside is a
Stone
scenic
wall
road.
on the road, or is it inside?
It was both, and that's why I was just curious as to,
The rules say that if you're removing more than a certain number of feet, I'm thinking it might be 8 feet, but we have to check the regulations, that you then need approval, you need a scenic road permit or something like that.
but is that limited to a stone wall on the roadway or parallel to the road?
Along the roadway.
Okay.
I don't know of anything that regulates stone walls inside.
I don't either.
So it's like a driveway entrance, kinda, you could do that without
Yeah, if
permit,
it goes
but,
along the roadway and it's in the driveway entrance,
Yeah.
then you can talk about, a lot of times what people do when they have to remove the stone wall is they put the stone wall
Right.
inside at the entrance to sort of keep some of it.
Mhm.
But in any case, you can do up to 8 feet, I think, without a,
You'll see when you get to the site too, the stone wall's not consistent as far as the stones and the type of the
It's like a
wall.
rubble
It's,
kind of.
yeah, it's not, it's something that you wouldn't call historic and you wouldn't value it as far as being historic.
Well, don't be
just-
so sure. Yeah, sometimes.
Can you walk us through the construction?
Actually, before you do, one general question. As I look at this drawing, it indicates to me that there is no new work within the 25-foot setback proposed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Construction. Their access work area is going to be mainly the driveway for the proposed addition. They will have to do this clearing, and I would probably recommend that they build the driveway first. The proposed addition, they'll have to excavate for their footing and cellar wall. And after that, they can construct the wood frame.
Can I ask you, where it says proposed addition,
Yeah.
right under that, it says removed. What does that mean?
Stone
Tree.
wall.
That's the tree, actually. It refers to the tree. The stone wall does have to be removed.
Yeah.
And I kind of put that on a note here, remove and rebuild stone wall where necessary. I believe they'll have to take out some, right before the addition, there's that transition area that you can never get through. And that was my intent with that. But obviously they can't build the addition with the stone wall there, so I wanted to, one, tell the contractor you had to remove the stone wall, and also get permission from you as far as it is in your jurisdiction as well, for that work.
So you're basically tearing this house down?
Not the house, where, the house,
Where it says proposed addition?
There's not,
No, you're butting against the existing house.
No, he's been here before.
What?
Okay, existing dwelling, is
Yeah.
that gonna remain
Yes.
intact?
Yes.
You're not gonna cut anything out of it?
Nope. Not that I know of. It hasn't been portrayed to me from my clients or from the Sandgasser Group, which is the,
And this proposed addition goes right up to the edge of the driveway?
the proposed driveway?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
on the existing barn slash garage, that's gonna remain intact.
That's going to remain intact. They would like to make some improvements to it, like painting. They told me they would pressure wash it, and also do some things on the inside. But as far as any structural or changes to the physical shape of it, no, they did not tell me they were going to do that.
Is there any living quarters upstairs in that?
I don't know. I can answer that question for you.
I can't imagine a driveway right next to the house.
How do you get from the circular driveway to the proposed landing and into the barn garage?
The existing driveway is gonna remain in this area here and this area here. Again, the driveway that we're proposing, it looks like a lawn. So hopefully you're gonna be walking straight across the similar surface to that landing. This is what their intent is.
But that's only for the new loop driveway, the existing gravel driveway remains?
They wanna keep the access to here and to here. They haven't asked me to put this product in those locations.
Okay, so the gravel stays there, it's really just the loop that's that product?
Correct. But just from my sense of dealing with these guys, they want to do a nice job and they want to make the yard consistent with this. I don't believe that they would just, so I believe they would want a loam and seed and make a consistent surface on it all the way up to that landing.
Can you, does the current contour, sorry, a quick question. Does the contour 172 maintain its current path through the property? Or is it being modified with the new driveway? 172 is the one that runs along the left-hand edge of the driveway? And it's shown as an existing contour?
Yep.
But 170 is existing too.
I plan on keeping that. Showing spot grades on the driveway, and that's kind of 173.6 up near the house,
Yep.
and 171.7.
Yep.
I actually think I can make those grades work.
Okay, so you don't see any regrading, really anywhere on the property, other than, no, there's no regrading on it.
What I am proposing is to excavate out 12 inches out of the
For the
driveway. But I'd like to make it back to the same elevations.
I just wanted a clarification on the new driveway. It says proposed gravel driveway.
Oh, yes, it should be turf block driveway.
Okay, so you want to make that change?
Yep.
So you're proposing a 24 by 44 7-foot addition to the house?
7-foot addition.
44.7
Oh.
by 24.
Yes, gotcha. That's correct.
That's a full foundation?
Full foundation.
Walkout?
No.
The numbers don't exactly work for me because this is the existing, if this is 24, how can this one be 24? It's shorter, this is longer.
I drew it right through to here.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay, so they're more modern.
So that includes that stairwell.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't have the final architectural plans, but that was what was portrayed to me.
Okay. Yeah, it still looks like it's off by maybe a foot or two, but.
Close enough.
On your comment earlier concerning the perennial stream versus the intermittent stream, I don't see how it's relevant to any of the discussion.
Okay.
Do you?
The only relevance was the riverfront analysis, and I had already I've already started down that road with the riverfront analysis, and I had the same, when I looked at the map first time, I had the same thing you had said, and then I went and looked at the symbols again, because my wetland consultant had it there too, and I was surprised, so I went with intermittent. So I had it like half done, the riverfront, and
Well, as you look at the drawing, the 100-foot setback, which would be the least setback, not setback, but jurisdictional line, covers 90% of the property in question. Do you want to have that discussion? I don't see that it's relevant.
okay.
And really what we're talking about is things that are outside the 100-foot jurisdictional line.
Yeah.
If you look at that, we're going to argue that that's within, because it's 200 feet. If that's all we're talking about, do you still want to have that discussion?
I would like to present the project inside the, if we want to, if I agree that this is perennial and I call this a 100-foot inner riparian zone, am I gonna be able to get the work done? I haven't gone through the whole analysis. Am I able to going to get something approved similar to this when I go through the riverfront analysis?
Okay.
That's kind of what's going through my head right now.
You don't have to answer it tonight. You can give
Yeah,
it more
I'm just-
thought depending, but it's a good question.
And that's kind of what I'll have to go over with my clients. This is basically what they've told me they want here. If we have to revise.
You're talking about scope?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
If we have to revise it based upon riverfront analysis or comments from the board, then it's always part of the permitting process.
Yep.
And I'm sure they understand it as well, as been through it myself quite a few times. But to answer your question, if I could give them this and concede that that's perennial, I would do it right now.
Okay. Okay, that's where I was wondering. Okay.
Any other questions from commissioners? What's a good time to view this? You know, the snow is going to hurt us a little bit, certainly. I don't know. Do you have any kind of construction schedule? Are you under time pressure? Can you wait till March and then figure out a time to see without the snow?
They can't build in this.
Extraordinary times.
Can't stake it out.
Another question? Do you have a planting plan? We have a 3-to-1 replacement on trees that are removed. And a planting plan that shows that you're gonna satisfy that, as well as some sense of how, including caliper and species. It's not species, what is it?
It is species. It's species. Tree.
What is it, family? Is it family?
No, it's species.
Species, yeah. Caliper and species.
I do not have a planting plan, but I'll be happy to.
But we have a standard 3-to-1 ratio on replacement.
Are those trees that you're taking out, are they worth saving? Or moving to a different location?
No, the ones that there can't be moved, as far as the 24-inch tree, I'm not sure. Well, I guess I'm not sure it can be removed.
Do you know why they're removing the tree in front of the house? I mean, it doesn't look like it's encroaching on anything. It just says removed.
I don't, and when I first did the plan, I put save on it, and they asked me to remove it.
I mean, some of them are very obvious is why you're moving them, but it doesn't.
You might want to let them know that on a whole, we don't like to remove trees unless absolutely necessary.
I will portray that to him.
Anything else, any other questions? So, yes,
They're going to extend the gas line to the barn, but I don't see any erosion controls.
What control?
Erosion control.
The red line is the erosion control, right?
It's on the opposite side of the
Yes,
garage.
it's over here.
The gas line is back into here. Any runoff that's associated with that, it will obviously go through the stream, into the garage. I believe the erosion controls are sufficient where I proposed them.
Yeah, and going to Judy's question, I think about whether or not there are any bedrooms, et cetera, in the barn. There's no connection from the barn to the septic system that I can tell.
I got this right off the record plans that they provided, and I didn't see a connection on those plans.
I just wanted to ask you,
what's the gas for in the garage?
They already have a gas propane tank back down here. They did have this existing it's like a screen porch back there. I haven't been inside the barn or the garage, so I'll have to get you that information.
Because, I mean, that's a legitimate question. If they're gonna put bedrooms in there, they're gonna have to put a bathroom in there, and then we need septic plans.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. We hate to be in the position of approving an addition. And then have, oh my God, oh, we forgot to include the bedrooms.
Actually, that's a good comment, because they're doubling the size of the house, and they're not making any modifications to the existing septic system.
Right.
So, what's the plan for the septic system?
I haven't been told they were adding any bedrooms.
Can you ask them to provide architectural drawings for what the addition is,
Sure.
including the existing house?
Are you looking for elevations, or are you looking for just a floor plan?
Really, the floor plans.
Okay.
I mean, if they have the elevations and can include them, that would be appreciated, but we're really looking at floor plans.
Okay, have a good time. And maybe the recreational area for Delta.
What?
It'd be the recreational area for Fidelity, you can't have.
Fidelity or Canton Ave?
I don't get that.
I just got it.
Well, that's the one when you wanted.
God, it's hard to fly like an eagle.
No, that was the 20-car garage that you were talking about, but the guy said there were only three cars there.
Okay.
That's what he said.
So the whole first floor is garage.
The whole first floor is the garage?
First floor, it's garage.
First
But he said there were three.
Whole first floor, that building was garage.
At any rate, to get back to it.
Sorry, yeah, sorry to,
Like a militia?
I would imagine so.
maybe.
After reading about that poor woman over in.
Okay, so anything
so-
more for
No,
what's
I
before?
don't think so.
We digress.
All right,
Yes.
so you're okay with March 10th, to see if we can reconnoiter and figure out a day to get out there and see it?
Yes.
And can you get that information to us by March 10th on, bedrooms and septic
prior-
enlargement?
preferably
Yeah, prior
prior.
to that.
Well, he's gonna check with Kathy as to when he's gonna supply the information. The meeting's March 10th, but she's got a deadline.
Right, it's a week before.
Right, Kathleen?
Yes.
Try to help you.
True enough. All right, any other questions, thoughts? Marion, any comments, questions? Or do you have any?
Yeah, are we scheduling the site walk on March 10th?
But that's our
a
meeting.
here.
Okay, but,
So a week before that, if you could get the information back to us, the planting plan, the information on the bedrooms and
Right.
septic enlargement and all that.
Architectural plans and all that.
okay, if we get a dramatic melting phase or something like that, would you guys consider doing a walk? Or,
Sorry, let me just,
Yep.
sorry.
Or am I going to be notified of a date when you plan on doing the walk? Once
No,
it,
we'll decide at the next meeting, the March 10th meeting.
The 10th is the formal Conservation Commission meeting.
Okay.
At that time, we set up the sidewalks.
Okay.
We do a sidewalk?
Yeah, you doing the next door? Are you doing
This-
395?
No, we're not doing any sidewalks because there's too much
Yeah,
snow.
too much
We don't,
snow, yeah.
we had to defer anything,
Okay.
Snowshoes and sleds.
which are a lot of fun.
All right, then that's it. With the assent of the applicant, then we'll continue this to March 10th?
Yes,
All right,
please.
good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
What else do we have?
50 Robbins.
50 Robin.
50 Robins.
We don't have anything. Did Paul call or do anything on that?
Maybe we do it just to have him sign the agreement with Stephen Ives and continue into the spring. Maybe it was a check.
All right. He gives us the check to pay to Steve, or does he pay Steve directly?
You can give it to me, made out to Stephen, and I'll mail it.
Okay.
Consultant, that way I know the consultant got paid and the amount the contract was for.
All right, so did he agree to pay Stephen?
He agreed on the telephone, but he has not come in to sign the contract.
Okay. All right, will you give him a little reminder?
I will.
All right, good. And that
But do
brings,
you want, I thought we were gonna wait to vote to accept Stephen when Paul was here, but he agreed to, the consultant.
I'm sorry, we did agree to wait until he was here to accept Stephen?
I thought we agreed.
I thought we already,
I thought
I
we
thought we
voted
already
to
agreed to retain Steve Ives.
Yeah,
Okay, let me double check my notes.
yeah,
Okay, I thought we did.
And
I
to
thought we did
continue
too.
it until the spring?
yeah.
Oh, it definitely has to be continued until the spring, yeah, and we did talk about that, because we need to wait until the skunk cabbage comes up.
And when does that come out?
April.
So want to continue to the April meeting?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just inform Paul?
Right, but I don't want to wait until the last minute and not have Steve and Ivis,
No, no,
fully
no,
on board.
no. I will call Paul tomorrow.
Okay.
We have this one too, don't we?
Okay.
That's it. All right, so additional business is 1374 Canton Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us what that is, Kathy?
This was a location that we approved about 3 years ago. We gave it all the conditions. It's off of Canton Avenue.
Right up behind the Eustace Estate?
Oh, yeah, the road up and behind.
Yes. You have to go through the stone house to get in, the carriage house to get in? Then you drive up?
No, you don't. Well, you can go up the other drive, but
It's the
yeah.
back
Oh, there's another
Yeah,
driveway
there
too?
is, yeah. Next to the Suffolk Resolve house, you
Yes.
know that driveway
Yeah.
right there.
They want to change the footprint of the house and the house compared to what you as a commission approved. If you want to know whether it would be a minor amendment to the order condition, or we have to find a new line after the first plan, or whether we have to file a notice of intent.
You showed that to me.
Yeah.
Do you have that? Did you, I thought you gave it to
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Want the plan?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this one,
Is that your copy?
You got it.
You got it?
Well, no, I got this.
Oh, sorry.
Did they put it here?
No.
Can we borrow your pen?
Yeah.
That's what we just did.
The one in the shade is what,
Yeah, shaded driveway.
yes, see how, this was pre-approved, this house, this is what they want to do now. But they want to do it under the same notice of intent.
But how long ago were we there?
Where's the
Kathy?
original
Wasn't it
house?
a couple of years?
They tore it down, remember?
Right, but the original planned house.
This gray area, this is a pre-approved house,
The gray footprint.
this here. And that was a driveway, pre-approved
Leave much of
driveway.
the house standing.
Okay.
That's, wow.
Okay,
Okay,
but
so
the-
that's the old house, I mean, and the approved house, and this is
What
the,
the architectural plans are gonna be.
that's pretty different.
That's completely different.
So,
Okay, but the question I have
Oh, yeah.
is, this is the 100-foot setback. So the entire thing before and the entire thing now are outside our jurisdiction. is
Why
there-
were we up there?
Why were we
Just-
up there?
Just to set the line?
I don't know.
The leaching field, was that an
Why-
issue, they moved it out?
There's a pond here, isn't there?
I don't
So
know.
it might be within 200 feet.
Oh, okay, is that what it is?
Yeah, there is a big pond back there.
Yeah, but a pond wouldn't trigger it.
But there must be
A river would.
wetlands that, you know,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
if that's
look at
the-
the
This
original
says
one.
ditch?
That's the
When
wetland.
were we up there? Wasn't it about 4 years ago?
It was with,
102 feet.
Marguerite Jeffries, remember?
Yeah, she came out, she was on the other,
Burned down?
yes.
No.
It was right
House
next
that-
to it,
Yeah.
wasn't
Oh,
it?
it's the house that, next to it? The one
Yes.
that burned down?
Correct.
Yeah, this is not the house that burned down.
Oh, I do remember this, actually, I remember going up there,
So-
there was nothing on the site.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
That's right.
Demo the house before having approval to rebuild.
What's the reserve area?
No, they have to resubmit, because I think neighbors need to be informed as well.
I think they need to submit, but I'm not sure that it's a significant change.
Wow, it sure looks it.
Well, from our perspective.
But why
Correct,
were we-
yeah, I mean, on a jurisdictional basis, I agree with you. 100 feet.
Yeah.
Well, for the wetland.
I know, then what,
Kathy, can you look at notes or something
Yeah,
as to
well,
what we,
the leaching
you know.
field, was that out there and then we?
and then they moved it
Moved
back,
it
we told them
back?
to move it
was
back?
that it? Yeah, maybe.
I mean, the only thing they've got right now is the leaching field is outside, and their limit of work, hay bale line is in our jurisdiction, but none of the work is.
Yeah.
What did they say here? Did they move anything back?
Present project. House setback, 145 feet. Now it's 157, they're moving further away. Septic, 106, 93. Septic reserve, the septic, maybe that's what it is. The septic reserve is within our jurisdiction. Driveway is 105, grading is 102. Fill is 115 cubic yards. Fill in the buffer. What are they filling in the buffer? 2.3 cubic yards?
So that was approved previously. now they're not doing it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, let me find the, I just received this, right before the meeting.
So the septic reserve is space that they're holding out for future septic expansion? Is that what that is? Because it's
I don't
not,
know.
I don't know what septic reserve is.
I haven't heard of it before.
I suspect it's
Well,
just future expansion.
The house
free-
is much,
future
it's
flood.
smaller, right?
I
Much
do.
smaller.
Oh, okay.
Like a bad flute, or a bad,
They're like a kid
yeah, yeah,
practicing.
something like that.
But
Bad,
it's,
bad. It's a very talented child practicing.
but if the septic reserve is within 93 feet of the wetlands boundary, and this is 106 feet,
Well, this is the reserve area here.
Do you think it's from the well shed?
See, that's the reserve right there, is 93 feet. So they're saying that this is reserve.
Let me read,
wow, I have no idea.
okay, let me look at the original, but I thought because they were changing so drastically, it would be a whole new
Well,
NOI.
they just gave it to us today,
Yeah.
Yes.
so I don't feel too bad about asking them to wait until
No, they
the
just
next.
wanted to know what to file,
Okay,
modification or NOI. Not to approve anything.
What
Right.
was the last one, was the last one that they submitted?
That's what we can't
And those
remember.
intent.
Yeah, but did we determine that it was not
if it was a notice of
applicable?
intent, we issued it.
Oh, it wasn't a notice of intent.
Well, I don't know, I mean,
Was
it-
it- was it-
A leaching, I think for some reason this was in the wetlands and they moved it.
I think that's right.
And now that
It
it's
seemed like an
outside-
easy, it seemed like an easy task for them, because I know we were walking along, isn't there a stone wall along here somewhere?
Yes, because we had to climb it over it.
Yeah.
And go way into the woods with Margie.
Yeah.
Marge Jeffers, right, because that's, isn't that her property?
Yes, I believe it is.
And
I think
is
that's
that the
what it is.
vernal pool?
No, I think the vernal pool is further away from here, on Mrs. Jeffries' property?
Okay.
It could be. I'm sort of disoriented as to where her house is.
So I'll research it more for the next.
Do, yeah, that'd be great,
So-
Kathy.
All right. Do we have anything else? Nothing on the agenda.
Have you heard any word about the cell phone? The cell tower? Cell phone tower?
No, other than the circuit court gave them full range to go forward and build their 120-foot tower.
Only 120 foot.
Well, yes, but there were no, we were trying to do a deal and say,
Right.
we'll let you build 110 if, or 100, whatever, I think it was 110, if you agree not to add on, on a contract basis. But the court said, no, forget it, they can build 120, and the new law now allows them to have add-ons of another, 10 or 15 feet.
Oh, really?
If they go back, yeah, the federal law changed, and the cell tower owner can go back and do an enhancement, pretty much free rein. That is, without demonstrating a need to fill a gap.
Okay.
So, bottom line is, we lost at the first circuit. But I haven't seen or heard anything from them.
And I did not vote with the committee on this one because I argued that cell towers are too important and the courts are going to see them as too important and give them wide leeway, which is what has happened. It's just what's happened. I said, we're not going to be able to control this. It's public interest and it's a safety issue. And the court saw it that way. That's the underlying theme in the decision.
So what are you telling us, I told you so? or-
That's a lot, what it sounds like.
A long way around to your point.
Fully put.
Must be an attorney.
All right, we've completed our agenda. We have nothing to sign, is that correct?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.